Chapter 465. P.S. Stimulation. I need strong stimulation. I feel exhausted after writing 6 chapters. Time seemed to flow backward, and everything returned to the beginning. Shao-Chi calmly replied, "After Big Brother's wedding, I'll continue my isolated cultivation." He really has a chance of reaching the heavenly god realm. Chu-Li turned his head to look at her beautiful face. Her skin was as white as suet jade, exuding a gentle luster. Her eyes were cold and tranquil, devoid of sorrow or joy. She was even more beautiful than before, giving him a sense of familiarity and strangeness at the same time. Chi gently nodded. "I found a small path. Let's give it a try." Chu-Li smiled. "Congratulations." Shao-Chi smiled. "It's all thanks to you." Without his intellectual sword severing threads of emotion, her revered sword scripture would not have advanced to this level, and she would not have reached her current level. The feelings they had for each other in the past were like spring water flowing over a rock. The traces they had left behind gradually disappeared. When she faced Chu-Li, she no longer felt the excitement she had before. Instead, she only felt a sense of familiarity and closeness, as if he was her family. Chu-Li smiled, but his heart was bitter and heavy. Looking at Shao-Chi's beautiful face, he could not wait to pull her into his arms and hug her tightly. However, the two of them were only a meter apart. He could touch her if he stretched out his hand, but he could not reach out his hand. Shao-Chi was now out of his reach. Shao-Chi glanced at him. "Is second eldest sister doing well?" "Second Miss has returned." "Yes, I've met her. She said she's doing well. King and has been cultivating in isolation." "We'll have to face it eventually," Shao-Chi said faintly. "How long can second eldest sister hide? If King enforces her too hard, the second lady can only disappear." Chu-Li shook his head and said, "From the looks of it, Princeton doesn't have that kind of intention. He wants to kill me. His hatred towards the second lady isn't that deep. He still covets the second lady's beauty. If you can't stay in the prince's mansion, let second sister go to my place." "Yes." The two of them exchanged a few words and then fell silent again. Chu-Li felt lonely and melancholic. Shao-Chi stood silently in front of the window and looked at the vast lake. She had mixed feelings and was overwhelmed with emotions. After a while, Chu-Li asked, "Chief Su didn't come back?" "Yes, I came back by myself." Shao-Chi nodded. "Come and go as you please so that you don't attract too much attention." Chu-Li nodded. The two of them fell silent again. After a long time, Chu-Li closed fist saluted. "If there's nothing else, Lady Xiaoying, I'll take my leave." "Okay." Shao-Chi hesitated for a moment before nodding slowly. Chu-Li disappeared in a flash. He appeared in a small courtyard on his island. Xueling was still practicing the darking palm. She looked at him calmly as he sat by the stone table without saying a word. His eyes were staring into the void without any focus. She could tell that Chu-Li was not in a good mood, so she did not ask any questions. Instead, she quietly practiced her darking palm. After a while, Chu-Li sighed. Only then did Xueling speak. "Master, what happened?" "The third lady is back," Chu-Li said. "Third lady is back." Xueling was surprised. Wasn't she in isolated cultivation? It's Master Shao Taiying's grand wedding. "Of course, I have to personally come back to take a look," Chu-Li said faintly. "All right, cultivate your martial arts. Don't worry about these things." "Yes." Shui nodded softly. She finally understood why her young master looked so pale. She vaguely knew about the relationship between the two of them, but she was not optimistic about their future. Although her young master was extremely intelligent and had top-notch martial arts, he was worthy of any woman. However, the third lady was different. The third lady's temperament made it impossible for her to get close to others. She was indifferent and quiet. It was as if she did not belong to this world and was aloof from it. It was as if she was born to not belong to anyone. She did not belong to any man, even if the man was her young master. Chu-Li could see Shao-Chi through the omniscient mirror. She stood quietly in front of the window. Her bright eyes flickered as she stared at the lake, lost in thought. He could not feel what she was thinking. The regal sword scripture was exquisite. She had a power similar to Chu-Li, just like Lu Yuron. He could not see through her thoughts. He suddenly shook his head and smiled. He knew Shao-Chi well enough. This time, he suddenly felt that things were not as bad as he thought. The regal sword scripture did not erase her memory. It only smoothed out her palpitations. The past was still in her mind. It was not difficult to win her heart again. After all, there were feelings from before. It was not difficult to rekindle old feelings. However, he was not in a hurry to rekindle old feelings. If he teased her now, he would be hindering her cultivation. When she cultivated to become an enlightened master, and he became an enlightened master, it would not be too late to rekindle old feelings. As he thought about this, he was even more eager to become an enlightened master. The omniscient mirror immediately activated and suppressed this urgency and burning desire. More haste, less speed. The path to becoming an enlightened master required enough patience and luck. It could not be rushed. In the evening, Chuli arrived at the island of Symphony. The island of Symphony was bustling with activity. Maids came and went busily. The sunset covered the island of Symphony with a layer of light, making it look even more magnificent. In the gazebo in the middle of the sea of flowers, Xiaoshi sat in front of a low table and played the guzheng. As soon as Chu Li appeared, the music stopped. Xiaoshi turned to look at Chu Li. "Have you seen little sister?" Chu Li nodded. A smile appeared on Xiaoshi's beautiful face. Little sister became prettier, didn't she? "Yes," Chu Li said slowly. Perhaps it was because of her stronger martial arts, or because of the regal sword scripture. Shao-Chi did become more beautiful. Xiaoshi said. She also became gentler. "Yes," Chu Li said. Shao-Chi did not seem cold like before because she was detached from the world. She looked on coldly from the sidelines and had no worries. That was why she could be calm and gentle. Nothing could move her heart. Xiaoshi pursed her lips and smiled. Little sister became better. "Are you not happy?" I'm happy." Chu Li forced a smile. "Sigh." Xiaoshi shook her head and sighed. "She still treats you differently from others." "Yes." Chu Li nodded slowly. Xiaoshi tilted her head and looked at him. She giggled. Chu Li said impatiently, "My lady, you asked me to come here just to make fun of me, right? I wanted to help you." Xiaoshi held back her laughter. Her beautiful face became even more beautiful and rosy. "I'll give you some ideas." "Thank you, but there's no need," Chu Li quickly said. Xiaoshi smiled. "I've chatted with little sister. She still admires you a lot." "My lady, you don't have to worry about it." Chu Li waved his hand and said, "I'll handle it." How are you going to handle it?" Xiaoshi rolled her eyes at him and said, "Little sister is going back soon. She'll leave after one look. If you miss the chance, when will you see her again? No matter how good the relationship is, it will fade after a long time. If I want to see her, I can go anytime. What's the point of you going?" Xiaoshi said impatiently. "Little sister is going back to isolated cultivation. She won't see outsiders." Chu Li shook his head. Xiaoshi scoffed. "You really don't need my help." "I really don't," Chu Li said. "If you have the intention, think about how to deal with King In." "Him," Xiaoshi said in disdain. "He's a dead man. What's there to deal with?" "You underestimate King In," Chu Li said. "He's planning to cause trouble." Xiaoshi's eyes widened. Chu Li said, "He'll come out of isolated cultivation and attend the wedding. What's his intention?" Xiaoshi frowned. "Is he trying to overtake the host?" "Yes, he's trying to make us unhappy." Chu Li shook his head and sighed. "He's purposely making us uncomfortable." Chapter 466. But if Princeton really did that, it would be really infuriating. It would ruin the happy atmosphere of the wedding. Big Brother might only have this one wedding in his life. How could he be happy to see Princeton? He had to suppress his anger and smile. Just thinking about it made Xiaoshi feel depressed for Big Brother. He would probably be angry in the future. Chu Li said, "If he really does that, as the princess, you will have to cooperate in public. I'm afraid you will have to sleep here tonight." "What will you do?" Xiaoshi said. "Then what do you think I should do?" "I can only think of a way to stop him." Chu Li said, "I should teach him a lesson." "You can kill him?" Xiaoshi scoffed. "If something really happens, it will be the public house's responsibility." He has his eyes on it. That's why he dared to do it. What a shameless bastard. Chuli smiled. You can still smile. Seosha rolled her eyes. Quickly think of a way. I will personally escort His Royal Highness. Chuli said, just in case there are any troubles along the way. Escort him here? Seosha frowned at him, guessing what he was planning. She muttered, ambush him along the way? Chuli shook his head. What else can we do? Seosha scoffed. We can't just let him come here and cause trouble so easily, right? At the very least, we can injure him badly and make him lie down and not cause trouble. Chuli smiled. That depends on how Amethyst Mountain handles it. What does this have to do with Amethyst Mountain? Seosha's thoughts turned, and she muttered, Amethyst Mountain will definitely not let you go. You want to use Amethyst Mountain to kill Princeton? It won't be that easy. Amethyst Mountain are not idiots. They don't have an enlightened master. They won't dare to kill Princeton. I have to try, Chuli said. All right then, Seosha said. Just don't let him get here smoothly. Chuli said, this time I will need Lu Yurong's help again. Seosha's brows furrowed. She did not like Chuli and Lu Yurong being together all the time. She felt uncomfortable looking at them. But she also knew that Lu Yurong and Chuli were birds of a feather. The two of them had a tacit understanding and could be trusted. Although they were still opponents, they would not break their promise. Princeton found out from Suning that Chuli and Seosha had already left the imperial residence and returned to the House of High Dukes. Instantly, his mood was at ease. He felt his entire body lighten up, as if the rock that was pressing on his chest had disappeared. Early in the morning, Kingen stepped out of the cultivation courtyard and smiled at Suning, who was guarding the entrance. Revered sir, we should be on our way. Suning pressed his palms together and bowed. Kingen's handsome face revealed a hint of excitement. Let's not bring too many protectors. The more people, the more eyes there will be. Just the two of us and Zheng lied. We'll visit incognito without being noticed by the High Duke's public house, and then suddenly offer ourselves. What do you think? I'm just afraid that the High Duke's public house has many spies, Suning said slowly, and they'll discover us in advance. Let's change our attire. Princeton chuckled and said, if we were coarse clothes, will we still be noticed by the public house? Yes. Suning nodded. Princeton said, it's the public house's grand wedding. There will definitely be a lot of people going to celebrate. No matter how many spies the High Duke's public house has, they can't possibly watch everyone. Let's sneak in, and when the banquet is about to start, we'll reveal our identities. It'll be very interesting. Thinking of this, he felt extremely happy. Chuli's weakness was the High Duke's public house. Finding trouble with the High Duke's public house would anger Chuli. Suning remained silent. Princeton scoffed. If Chuli doesn't let me be happy, I won't let him be happy either. Co Tying must be mad, but he can't do anything to me. Your Royal Highness, we have to be careful of the High Duke's public house's anger. If it's not beneficial to your Royal Highness, it's better to bring a few more protectors. Suning said, there's no need. Princeton waved his hand. It'll be too conspicuous if there are too many people. It's fine as it is. He was sure that the High Duke's public house would not dare to do anything to him. Yes, Suning did not try to persuade him anymore. The two of them talked as they walked towards his study room. When they arrived at the courtyard where the study room was located, Prince Anne's face darkened. He coldly stared at Chuli, who was standing at the courtyard entrance with a smile. Chuli closed fists, saluted, and smiled. Greetings, Your Royal Highness. Greetings, revered sir. Why are you here? Princeton's eyebrows furrowed. Chuli smiled. I know that Your Royal Highness is coming out of isolated cultivation. I'm here to congratulate you. Didn't you return to the High Duke's public house? Princeton scoffed. He was furious. Who was the one who leaked the news? He glanced at Suning. Other than revered Sir Suning, no one else would know that he was coming out of isolated cultivation. Could it be that Chuli and Suning had some sort of relationship? Suning pressed his palms together and bowed. How did Head Chief know that Your Royal Highness is coming out of isolated cultivation? I guessed. Chuli smiled. With Your Royal Highness's temper, how could you miss the wedding of the High Duke's public house? I'll be waiting here. Princeton stared at him coldly. It did not feel good to be seen through by others, especially by someone as scheming as him. You really care about me. Princeton lowered his voice and walked in with his hands behind his back. Chu Li followed him in. As the head chief of the imperial residence, how could I not care about your royal highness? Your royal highness wants to visit incognito and secretly go to the High Duke's public house? No, I want to go openly, Princeton said faintly. Once the High Duke's public house knew about it, it would be a joke to go incognito. Chu Li said, I will arrange the protectors. We need to leave a few grandmasters in the imperial residence, as well to prevent the princesses from being in danger. Very well, Princeton said faintly. Why don't you stay too? Chu Li could not help but laugh. Your royal highness, since I am our head chief, how can I not follow by your royal highness's side? I will escort your royal highness to the High Duke's public house to prevent any accidents along the way. Recently, Chongming Road has been very chaotic. Many of the protectors of the High Duke's public house have died. Oh, Princeton raised his eyebrows and looked at Su Ning. Su Ning said, the 5 major sects worked together to ambush the protectors of the High Duke's public house and killed 6 of them. They have guts. Princeton smiled. How did the High Duke's public house deal with it? Chu Li said faintly. They eliminated 3 sects to improve their security. Hee, that's impressive. As expected of the High Duke's public house. Princeton's smile widened. I guess no one dares to mess around anymore. The imperial residence also knows the bravery of the people in the martial arts world. The more we suppress them, the more they're not afraid of death. Chu Li shook his head. That's why your royal highness should not go to the High Duke's public house. A man of wealth should not sit under the eaves. Why should you put yourself in danger? I have always been a lively person. Princeton waved his hand and smiled. I must go and take a look. Since you insist on following me, then you will be in charge of the protectors. If anything happens to me, I will look for you to settle the score. Yes. Chu Li closed fists, saluted, and nodded. He quickly arranged the protectors. Ying Wuqiu and Lu Xing stayed in the imperial residence. Zheng Lide brought the rest of the protectors to follow Princeton. There were 6 grandmasters in total. It was more than enough to protect themselves. With so many grandmasters, no one would be stupid enough to provoke them. Chapter 467. As dusk approached, the group of people arrived. They missed their lodging and decided to rest in a forest. They started a bonfire and roasted some wild game over the bonfire. The aroma of meat filled the air. They then took their own braised meat and dry rations. It was a sumptuous meal. The night gradually darkened. Chu Li sat quietly in front of the bonfire. The light from the fire illuminated his face. King sat opposite him. His handsome face flickered under the fire. The way he looked at Chu Li changed. Su Ning sat cross-legged under a pine tree. He did not move an inch. It was as if he was one with the pine tree. Zheng Lide felt uncomfortable. It was hard for him to breathe. The atmosphere between Chu Li and King was unbearable. Both of them wanted to kill each other. Yet, they sat facing each other without saying a word. Zheng Lide knew about the knot in Prince's heart. Back then, 10 grandmasters were killed, and the backbone of Prince's imperial residence was broken. It almost destroyed Prince's 10 years of painstaking effort. How could he not hate Chu Li to the core? Chu Li, on the other hand, was serving his own master. There was nothing he could do about it. Unfortunately, he had gone too far, which was why King could not understand it. So he got rid of him quickly. If he did not kill the 10 grandmasters, King would have a different attitude. He would have regarded him as an important talent. He would have accepted him humbly. He would have tried his best to win him over. He would not have become his enemy. Unfortunately, the world was helpless. The past could not be repeated. There was no second chance. Moreover, he suspected that Chu Li would do the same thing even if he had a second chance. He would not let King An's imperial residence threaten the public house. Such loyalty was admirable. Unfortunately, even if his royal highness admired him, he would not forgive him. Chu Li looked up at King and, how's your martial arts training, your royal highness? King threw a piece of wood into the bonfire. I just started. I can't kill you yet. Chu Li smiled. If your royal highness wants to kill me, you don't have to do it yourself. Revered Sir Su Ning, Commander Zheng, and the others can do it together. King shook his head. I want to kill you myself. Your Royal Highness thinks you can kill me? Chu Li smiled. Your Royal Highness is an isolated cultivation. I haven't been idle either. I think my talent is better than yours, right? What do you mean? King frowned and said, Do you think that I can never defeat you? Chu Li nodded. Your Royal Highness, you've been lying to yourself and refusing to admit it. You should understand. I don't believe it. King said faintly, I believe that I can kill you. Chu Li sighed. Since your Royal Highness is so confident, then go into isolated cultivation. I'm just afraid that before I do anything, you'll be killed by someone else. King said lightly. He glanced at the two shadows under the bonfire. Swoosh! Two shadows flashed and shrouded Chu Li. The pieces of wood in Chu Li's hands turned into two streaks of black light and hit the two shadows. The two pieces of wood missed their target and passed straight through the shadow. The two shadows continued to attack Chu Li without any obstruction. Under the bright light of the fire, Zheng Lide could clearly see the two shadows pouncing towards Chu Li. It was as if two large nets were about to envelop him, and it was incredibly fast. Princeton had no intention of helping. He could not wait for these two assassins to kill Chu Li. Bam bam. Chu Li's palm struck at a shadow. His body instantly froze, and his hair stood on end. Two black shadows appeared. One was short and wretched while the other was skinny and weak. The two of them paused for a moment before striking out with their palms. The sound of thunder could be faintly heard in the night sky. Chu Li shouted, Protect His Royal Highness. Zheng Lide and Su Ning quickly stood in front of Princeton. The short and wretched middle-aged man struck out with his palm. It was as fast as lightning, so fast that Chu Li could not react in time. Chu Li struck out with his fist. As the fist and palm collided, Chu Li's clothes fluttered again and his body stiffened. This person's cultivation level was far below Zhang Xi and Meng Jian. The other skinny middle-aged man took the opportunity to attack him while he was frozen. Chu Li was like a block of wood. He was hit by the skinny middle-aged man without any reaction. The purple glowing right palm was imprinted on the left side of his chest. Bam! He was thrown out like a stone and flew into the air. The direction he flew towards was where Princeton was. Princeton pushed Zheng Lide and Su Ning away and struck out with his palm. His right palm flashed with a golden glow and firmly imprinted on Chu Li. Bam! Chu Li flew out again and spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. The two middle-aged men laughed strangely. Like two flashes of lightning, they shot towards Chu Li again. Chu Li's body was in the air, and he spat out another mouthful of blood, but his heart was filled with joy. These two men's shadow thunder palm was powerful. After devouring the heavenly demonic energy, he had improved even more. The fourth level of the heavenly demonic power was becoming clearer. Bam, 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 bam. The two of them took turns attacking Chu Li, treating him like a rubber ball. They kept hitting him, making him fly in the air and unable to land. The two of them moved like lightning. Their palms flowed with a purple glow, and their bodies emitted a faint sound of thunder. Although they looked ridiculous, their momentum was shocking. Everyone present was awestruck and did not dare to provoke them. They could only watch as Chu Li flew further and further away. Princeton chuckled. Su Ning glanced at him. Zheng Lide glanced at him as well. Princeton was still immersed in his excitement and did not notice at all. He only felt extremely happy as he watched Chu Li get hit by one palm after another. He had no strength to fight back and was flying around like a rag doll. It was as if he was the one who was hitting him. The two of them took turns attacking with their palms as fast as lightning. As they attacked, they thought that the rumors were exaggerated. What young heroes! They were only SOSO. After 20 palms, the two of them had already sent Chu Li flying more than 100 meters into the depths of the forest and out of Princeton's sight. They felt that something was wrong. If it was any other person, 2 palms would have been enough to kill him. Chu Li took 20 palms, but he was still fine. Not only did his aura not weaken, but it was also getting stronger. The counterforce from his body was getting stronger. They could clearly feel that he was getting stronger. It was as if the two of them were not attacking him, but helping him. He was probably taking the opportunity to break through his boundary. The two of them looked at each other and felt that they could not continue like this. The wretched middle-aged man's body suddenly grew taller. There was a faint sound of thunder coming from his body again. His right palm emitted a red glow, which matched the thin middle-aged man's purple glow. They both carried a terrifying aura of destruction, as if they could destroy everything. Bang! Chuli took a solid hit from the palm. Boom! Like a thunderclap. Chuli shot out like an arrow leaving the bow. He was even faster than before. Chuli spat out a mouthful of blood. His internal organs were injured from a shock. This palm that was glowing with red light was firm and young, but it was even more overbearing and violent. Through the omniscient mirror, he saw that the palm energy was condensed and did not dissipate. It seemed to have turned into an electric light. After entering his body, it exploded continuously, destroying every part of his body. It was really destroying everything. At the crucial moment, the heavenly demonic energy came out and swallowed the flashing electric inner energy. This was equivalent to 10 shadow thunder palms. Good boy. The two of them looked at each other and realized that their heaven's thunder palm still could not do anything to Chuli. They were a little surprised. Was this guy a monster? They had never seen anyone who could take a solid hit from the heaven's thunder palm and be unharmed. This boy only spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura was still strong, as if it could not be broken no matter what. I don't believe it. The wretched middle-aged man became full of heroic spirit. His whole body was like a deflated balloon that was filled with air again. He stretched out and shouted. Another palm print came down. Once again, Chuli was hit squarely in the heart. Bang! Chuli shot out again. Chapter 468. The heavenly demonic energy suddenly shrunk and turned from a water ball into a bead that flashed with electricity. It was about the size of a longan and had a pure blue color. It was bluer than the clear sky. The longan-sized blue bead seemed to contain lightning as it emitted electricity from time to time. The blue bead quickly circled around his body. His internal organs, bones, flesh, and blood once again underwent earth-shattering changes. The two middle-aged men felt that something was wrong. They looked at each other and nodded. Both of them pressed their right palms on Chu Li's chest at the same time. Chu Li was in the air when he was suddenly hit by the two palms. His tumbling body suddenly stopped moving as if he was fixed in place. Both of them flew out with a bang. Chu Li's body emitted an extremely strong force that shook their blood. They widened their eyes in disbelief. Chu Li, who had allowed them to hit him previously, had become so powerful. The recoil was so strong that they could not even block it. This kid is too strange. The tall, middle-aged man shook his head. His body shrunk again and turned into a short man. His handsome face turned into a wretched and ugly face. He looked like two different people, but he withdrew his heaven's thunder palm. What should we do? The thin, middle-aged man frowned. The wretched man shook his head. Elder Sue, I think we should retreat. Nonsense. The thin, middle-aged man's face darkened, and he said coldly, Are we just going to let him go? We have to find a way to kill him. Look at him. Do you think we can kill him? The wretched man pointed at Chu Li, who was suspended in the air. Chu Li's clothes and hair fluttered in the wind. It was obvious that he was undergoing a shocking transformation. His martial arts had broken through to another realm and would increase by a notch. Once he finished his breakthrough, the situation would be reversed, and the two of them would be the ones getting beaten up. We can't do anything to him, even if we attack together. The thin, middle-aged man shook his head. When we return to the mountain, no one will believe us. They will only think that we are slacking off. I want to try again. If you don't stop, you won't be able to leave later. The wretched man said impatiently, Elder Sue, listen to me. Let's go. This is two. The thin, middle-aged man shook his head. If you don't fight, I will. I don't believe that I can't defeat him. All right, I'll listen to you. Let's try again. The perverted middle-aged man raised his palm again helplessly. The two of them attacked Chu Li together. They did not bring their swords. The power of their palms was far greater than that of their swords. so there was no need for them to use swords. Bam, 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 bam. Their palms moved like lightning as they struck Chu Li's body continuously. Chu Li was like a sandbag that was being beaten by them like a storm, but he was secretly delighted. Their palm energy could no longer hurt him, but they became food for the heavenly demonic energy, happily devouring the palm energy. The dark blue bead circulated around his body, changing his body. It became more and more solid, more and more pure, and overflowing with blue. It was like a real bead, as if it would shatter with a light pinch. Bang! The two of them suddenly flew backwards. Chu Li's clothes stuck back to his body, and his hair fell to the ground. Everything stopped, and he slowly landed on the ground. He felt that his body was filled with boundless energy. As soon as the dark blue bead fell into his chest, his blood surged like a raging river. He could clearly hear the sound of rushing water, as well as the faint sound of wind and thunder. Every part of his body was filled with boundless power. He suddenly turned into a shadow and struck the wretched middle-aged man who couldn't react in time. Bang! The wretched middle-aged man flew out. He could block Chu Li's fist energy, but he couldn't block the violent power. It was as if he was hit by a galloping elephant. His internal organs tumbled, and he felt dizzy and nauseous. He looked at Chu Li's shadow. Chu Li punched the thin middle-aged man again, and then hit him with 2 more punches. The thin middle-aged man flew high into the sky and completely disappeared into the distant forest. The wretched middle-aged man didn't wait for Chu Li to hit him again. He rushed forward and caught his companion. He turned into a flash of light and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Chu Li let out a long sigh of relief and showed a satisfied smile. His plan didn't go to waste. They really helped him to step into the 4th level of the heavenly demonic power. He closed his eyes and entered the void of his mind. The huge heavenly demon appeared, and a chant surged out again. It was the cultivation chant for the 4th level. The 4th level of the heavenly demonic power had given birth to a new magical effect. The face of the heavenly demon in his mind gradually changed, and his body changed as well. Soon, he turned into the wretched middle-aged man. Chu Li opened his eyes and looked at himself with the omniscient mirror. As expected, he had turned into the wretched middle-aged man. As expected of the heavenly demonic power of the 33 heavens, it was so magical. Although he could change his appearance before, he couldn't control it so exquisitely that he could completely turn into another person. His body activated the phantom skill, and his body gradually became lighter, as if he had turned into a feather. He looked through the omniscient mirror and saw that he had turned into a shadow, blending into the night. He stopped the phantom technique and activated the shadow thunder palm. The surging spiritual chi followed a special path and quickly turned into an extremely pure inner energy. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels were all tempered, and then a layer of purple light condensed on his palms. It was the shadow thunder palm. After the shadow thunder palm, he changed to another heart technique, the heavens thunder palm. The heavens thunder palm was more overbearing than the shadow thunder palm, and it put a greater burden on the body. However, after his body was tempered by the heavenly demonic power, it became more powerful, and he could easily use the heavens thunder palm. He let out a long sigh and smiled. He sighed again. The elders of the Amethyst Mountain were really smart to be able to create such a martial art. Kingen sat in front of the bonfire with a smile on his face. He seemed to be imagining the wonderful days after Chu Li was killed. "Your Royal Highness, don't you need to send someone to take a look?" Su Ning asked. Kingen glanced at him. "What's there to look at? Life and death are determined by fate. Riches and honor are determined by the heavens. It all depends on his own luck." Zheng Li sighed. "Your Royal Highness, I think the head chief is in danger. Those 2 fellows are too powerful. They're from the Amethyst Mountain, right?" The news of Chu Li offending the Amethyst Mountain had spread throughout the imperial residence. Everyone was guessing what the Amethyst Mountain would do. Would they dare to assassinate the head chief and go against the imperial residence? They did not think that these fellows would be so daring. They really came to assassinate him, and it was 2 top-notch martial arts masters. They did not give the head chief a way out. The way the Royal Highness handled things was too disappointing. When the head chief was faced with an assassination attempt, his first thought was to protect the Royal Highness. He only cared about the Royal Highness, but the Royal Highness hit him when he was injured. Not only did he not save him, but he also personally hit him. No matter what, he was still the head chief of the imperial residence. Even if he wanted to deal with him, it was an internal matter. When facing outsiders, they had to unite against them. The imperial residence's actions were truly heartless. There was no sense of security around someone like him. He did not know if he would be the next one to die in his hands. Once he made a mistake, it would be hard for him to be forgiven. He only has himself to blame. He was too daring and did not put anyone in his eyes. This time, he finally tasted the bitter wine he brewed himself. Kingen said lightly. He threw a piece of wood into the bonfire. It should be cooked now, right? Yes, it's cooked. Zheng lied quickly took down the wild game from the rack. The wild chicken was roasted until it was golden brown. Its body was glistening with oil, and its aroma filled the air. However, he had no appetite at all. He was still thinking about Chu Li. Even though he was in the position of an opponent, he still admired Chu Li's integrity. Even though he was not on good terms with the Royal Highness, he still fulfilled his duty. His character was truly admirable. He glanced at the protectors around him. He saw that their faces were gloomy and the atmosphere was heavy. He knew that their thoughts were similar to his. Chapter 469. Kingen glanced at the protectors and smiled. He did not mind. He knew that his actions were inappropriate. He was too impatient. Under the influence of his inner demons, he could no longer maintain his usual calmness. But so what if it was inappropriate? They would not betray him and side with Chu Li. His palm had clearly expressed his intention to kill Chu Li. He wanted the protectors to understand that Chu Li was their enemy. They should not try to please him and stay away from him. If that happened, Chu Li would be isolated. No matter how powerful the head chief was, it would be useless. No matter how powerful he was the master of the imperial residence. He was just a chief. No matter how powerful he would not be able to change his master's mind. These protectors were all smart and powerful. They would know what to do. He turned to look at Su Ning under the pine tree and smiled. Revered sir, is there any chance of Chu Li surviving? Su Ning pressed his palms together and sighed. The head chief's martial arts is outstanding and he is wise. He might be able to escape. Kingen smiled and shook his head. Revered sir, you think too highly of him. No matter how scheming he is, it is not worth mentioning in front of absolute martial arts. If not, why would I spend so much effort on martial arts? Su Ning said, Your Royal Highness, in my opinion, the head chief can escape with his life. All right, since the revered sir is so insistent, I will not force you. Kingen smiled. In my opinion, the two people sent by the Amethyst Mountain are very powerful. No matter how strong Chu Li is, he will not be able to escape. Yes. Su Ning pressed his palms together and did not say anything else. Kingen knew his personality and did not force him to agree with him. He turned to look at Zheng lied. Commander Zheng, what do you think? The head chief is indeed wise. We cannot underestimate him. Even if he is in a desperate situation, he might still be able to escape, Zheng lied said. You all really think highly of him. Kingen shook his head and laughed. All right, I would like to see how he can escape. If we speed up, can we reach Choming Town by tomorrow? The earliest we can reach would be at night. Zheng lied said. Kingen nodded. Then forget it. Let's wait for the sun to rise. First, let CO Tying know and let him come out to welcome us. Interesting. Zheng lied closed fists saluted in response. He cursed in his heart that this was done on purpose to anger CO Tying. CO Tying was a staunch and unyielding man. It was dangerous to provoke him like this. It was obvious that the Royal Highness thought that CO Tying would not dare to do anything to him. No matter how he thought about it, he, as a subordinate, needed to be more vigilant. When I return this time, I won't be going into seclusion. Kingen turned his head to look at Su Ning and smiled. I think what Chu Li said makes sense. My aptitude is not as good as his. I really can't compete with him in martial arts. Su Ning said, Your Royal Highness, the head chief is trying to undermine your Royal Highness' confidence. He just doesn't want your Royal Highness to go into seclusion. He's afraid that your Royal Highness will go into seclusion. Oh, King frowned. What do you mean, revered sir? Su Ning said slowly, Your Royal Highness's cultivation of the antique art is progressing very quickly. Although the head chief has a good aptitude, he has a congenital flaw. What flaws? Family background. Princeton muttered, My background, Su Ning said. The head chief was born in the public house, so the martial arts he practiced are not top-notch. How can it be compared to the exquisite martial arts practiced by your Royal Highness? I've never heard of the public house having any powerful antique art. It can't be compared to the 4 major sections. King nodded slowly. That's true. If that's the case, he's purposely provoking me and attacking me. He doesn't want me to cultivate? That's right, Su Ning said. If he's really not afraid of your Royal Highness going into seclusion, why would he talk so much? That's true, King said slowly. Although he might be doing this on purpose to make us misunderstand, the martial arts of the public house are indeed very ordinary. Otherwise, they wouldn't have declined to this extent. To be able to cultivate ordinary martial arts to this level, Chu Li's aptitude is indeed extraordinary. Yes, the head chief is a genius. Unfortunately, Su Ning shook his head. Those who could cultivate the divine powers of the Titanium Temple were all geniuses. Moreover, Chu Li's wisdom was far better than his. He was also fated to be with the Titanium Temple. It was not impossible for him to become a junior in the same faction. Even so, he would not help him. Everyone had their own reasons and could not be forced. He was not a disciple of the Titanium Temple yet, so there was no need for him to meddle in other people's business. After King spoke, he ate a few mouthfuls of the game. He felt that the taste was average, so he tossed it aside and laid down in front of the bonfire. He laid on his side and began to meditate using the golden low hands power posture. He entered the state of cultivation. His fighting spirit had been reignited. He wanted to completely overwhelm Chu Li in martial arts and kill him. Only then would his thoughts be truly clear. It would be beneficial for his own cultivation and would be beneficial for the fight for the throne in the future. After midnight, Zheng Lide and the others realized that Chu Li still had not returned. They sighed to themselves and faintly felt that the head chief was in danger. Some of the protectors felt indignant. The head chief had encountered such a master, but could not receive any help. No matter how powerful the masters from the Amethyst Mountain were, they would still have some scruples if they were to attack together. They could not kill him. Unfortunately, the Royal Highness watched as the head chief fell into a desperate situation. Not only did he not save him, but he also took the opportunity to plot against him. The head chief was also unlucky to have met such a Royal Highness. They did not realize that a shadow was slowly approaching them. When the shadow was near the bonfire, it suddenly shot towards King and Chi. A soft whistling sound was heard. A wretched figure appeared in front of King. Both of his palms were flashing red as his right palm pressed towards King was in a state of meditation. His reaction was the sharpest. He immediately felt a sense of danger. Unfortunately, before he could react, Chu Li's right palm had already pressed against his back. Wah! King flew out and knocked over the bonfire. The robe on his body was burning. The Heaven's Thunder Palm was destroying his body unscrupulously. The aura of the golden low hand's power rushed forward to stop it. Unfortunately, the Heaven's Thunder Palm was overbearing. Although the aura of the golden low hand's power was pure, it could only block a part of it. It did not allow the Heaven's Thunder Palm to rush to his heart. The Heaven's Thunder Palm intensified and destroyed every part of his body. His dantian was instantly destroyed. King was in excruciating pain. He gritted his teeth and did not scream. He only grunted and rolled on the ground a few times to extinguish the fire. Then he bounced up from the ground and shot toward the forest beside. He wanted to run into the forest to escape from the wretched middle-aged man's assassination. Unfortunately, under the Heaven's Thunder Palm Heart technique, not only was the palm energy overbearing, but the inner energy had also become violent and swift. This made the wretched middle-aged man's body movement technique extremely fast. He instantly caught up to King In. His right palm flashed red and pressed down again. This palm hit the back of his waist and instantly destroyed both of his kidneys. Then, the wretched middle-aged man's figure flashed and appeared in front of Su Ning. He raised his voice and shouted, "Truly, if you don't come out, I will kill everyone in the imperial residence of King In." The night sky was silent. No one answered. Su Ning pressed his palms together and chanted the name of Buddha. "Almsgiver, why do you have to kill so much? The sea of bitterness has no bounds. Repent, and you will be saved." His voice was gentle and pleasant. It made people involuntarily believe him and want to obey him. The wretched middle-aged man turned his head and scoffed. "Little monk, put away your bewitching technique. We, the Amethyst Mountain, will not fall for your tricks. Watch my palm." His palm energy was extremely fast. Before Su Ning could react, his palm had already landed on Su Ning's chest. Bam! Su Ning's chest suddenly bulged and dispersed the palm energy. Interesting. The wretched middle-aged man scoffed and turned into a stream of light. He attacked Zheng Lide. Chapter 470. Bam! Zheng Lide flew out. Everyone was shocked. Their first thought was not to pounce on this perverted man, but to find King In and protect him. Unfortunately, King In had already entered the forest. They could not find him, so they could only pounce on the perverted man. The perverted man sneered, "Chu Li, come out." The night sky was quiet. There was no response. "All right, then I will kill everyone in the imperial residence of King In." The perverted man shouted. His voice was like a bell, shaking the birds in the forest. The protectors pounced on him. The perverted man laughed and welcomed them. Bam, 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 bam. A series of muffled sounds were heard, and the protectors flew out one by one. They were like defenseless children in front of the perverted man. Their movements were slow and clumsy. They could not even touch a hair on the perverted man, but they were still sent flying by him. The perverted man's body movement technique was as fast as lightning. His palms were like lightning, so fast that one could not even see his shadow. In the blink of an eye, none of the protectors were left standing. Their movements were so fast that it was shocking. "Chu Li, you are indeed ruthless." The perverted man laughed and turned into a shadow. Like a dark cloud, he quickly disappeared in front of everyone. The protectors widened their eyes. They endured the pain and activated their inner energy, trying to force out this strange palm energy. Unfortunately, the palm energy of the heavens' thunder palm was strange. It was extremely pure and overbearing. Their internal organs were constantly being destroyed. In just a short while, they were all heavily injured. If it were not for the spirit medicine they had, they would have died by now. About Buddha." Su Ning chanted the name of Buddha. He stood up and walked in front of everyone. He raised his voice and said, "Everyone sit together. Place your palms on each other's back and form a circle." Everyone trusted him and did as he said. They struggled to get up, enduring the pain. Their faces were full of emotions. They sat down in a circle while panting. They placed their palms on the back of the person in front of them. One by one, they connected with each other and formed a circle. Su Ning said, "Everyone was hit by the heavens' thunder palm. One person cannot resolve it alone. Only by borrowing each other's strength can the palm energy collide and dissolve. Everyone, slowly inject your inner energy into each other's body so that your inner energy is connected." Everyone did as they were told. Slowly, they felt the strange palm energy slowly dissipate and finally disappear. The pleasure in their bodies also dissipated. It was as if they had ascended from hell to paradise. This was extremely mystical. They all raised their heads and looked at Su Ning in disbelief. Su Ning pressed his palms together and bowed. This is the unique solution to Amethyst Mountain's heaven's thunder palm. Everyone will be able to use it in the future. Let's go look for His Royal Highness now. Everyone hurriedly pressed their palms together to return the greeting and stood up to look for King In. All of them were injured. Fortunately, the palm energy had been removed, so their injuries would not worsen. They could slowly recover. However, when they thought of the wretched, middle-aged man's movement technique, it was still terrifying. It was too fast, they could not react in time. So many people were like decorations. This was the ultimate skill of the Amethyst Mountain. It was no wonder that the Amethyst Mountain could become one of the 4 major sections. It was truly terrifying. They soon found the dying king and in the forest. The corner of King An's mouth was full of blood. He laid on the ground, looking battered and exhausted, as if he was about to breathe his last at any moment. They quickly fed him a pill, a life-saving medicine. Then they placed King An next to the bonfire and sat down, surrounding King An in the middle. They closed their eyes and adjusted their breaths, beginning to circulate and heal their wounds. In the middle of the night, King An slowly woke up. Su Ning was sitting next to him. King An groaned, "Revered sir?" Su Ning opened his eyes and said softly, "How do you feel, your royal highness? Did I manage to survive?" King An asked. Su Ning nodded lightly and said, "He still has his reservations. He did not dare to kill you, your royal highness." "Oof." King An gritted his teeth and said angrily, "Truly," Su Ning said, "the head chief might have escaped. That's why he chased after us. He wanted to use everyone's lives to force the head chief to show himself. Unfortunately, the head chief is not here. Even if he was, he would not show himself." King An sneered, "It's all his fault. Your royal highness, your injuries are too severe. You need to recuperate carefully," Su Ning said softly. "It's better for you to return to the public house first. You can't go to the High Duke's public house anymore." "That's fine." King An knew that if he went to the High Duke's public house now, he would only be humiliating himself. Co Taiying had been suppressing his anger for a long time. He would never let go of this opportunity. He would thoroughly humiliate him. If he went now, he would only be asking for trouble. King An struggled to sit up. He channeled and adjusted his breaths. As soon as he channeled, his face suddenly changed. He stared at Su Ning. "My martial arts?" Su Ning sighed and said softly, "Your royal highness, you need to start cultivating again." "Who is this fellow?" King An gritted his teeth and asked slowly, "Who was the one who crippled my martial arts?" "Gung Huarong," Su Ning said, "the first-generation disciple of the Amethyst Mountain. He is an expert in the heavens' thunder palm. He kills people like flies." "Gung Huarong," King An said word by word. It was as if he wanted to imprint this name into his mind. He would never forget it. "Your royal highness, you still have your life. You just need to cultivate from the beginning," Su Ning said calmly. King An said coldly, "Revered sir, it's easy for you to say. If I were to cultivate from the beginning, how long would it take for me to recover my previous cultivation level? I think with your ability, your royal highness, 3 to 5 years would be enough," Su Ning said. 3 years? 5 years? King An sneered. Then he started coughing violently. Su Ning patted his back and sent some inner force into his body. He said gently, "Your royal highness, there's no need to be discouraged. It's only 5 years. It's just a blink of an eye. Cultivating from the beginning will make your foundation stronger. It'll be more beneficial for your enlightened mastery's boundary." 5 years, 5 years, King An said coldly. "Are you going to let Chu Li live for another 5 years?" Su Ning said calmly, "Your royal highness, that's his fate. Let him live for now. It won't be too late to take care of him when your royal highness has mastered your martial arts." "No," King An shook his head. "I can't stand it for another 5 years." Su Ning looked at him calmly. King An gritted his teeth and said, "Does your temple have a way to recover martial arts?" Su Ning shook his head. King An said, "None of the 4 major sects?" Su Ning sighed. "Your royal highness, it's easy to save a life, but it's hard to recover martial arts. I'm afraid that only the emperor and the enlightened master from the Tempest Temple can do it. Your royal highness, do you want to ask the emperor for help?" "I can't," King An said slowly. He knew that if he asked for help from his father, then everything would be over. Even if he lived, he would be a walking corpse. His father never wanted him to inherit the throne. Otherwise, he would not have agreed to the marriage with the High Duke's public house. However, he also knew that his father would not interfere too much. As long as he did not kill his brothers, no matter what he did, his father would only watch from the side. However, if he asked for help from his father, it would mean that he would withdraw from the fight for the throne. He worked hard for so many years, all for the sake of the throne. If he could not obtain the throne, there would be no point in living, let alone recovering martial arts. If that's the case, I can only cultivate on my own? Kingen said in a low voice. Su Ning nodded slowly. Kingen said, all right, go and find Chu Li. Your Royal Highness, I think the head chief is already hidden somewhere else, Su Ning said. Kingen scoffed. Look for him. I don't believe that he could really escape. Maybe he's already dead. If he's not dead, then kill him. He had personally experienced Gung Huarong's martial arts. No matter how powerful Chu Li was, he would not be able to escape from Gung Huarong's palm technique. Yes, Su Ning bowed with pressed palms. Chapter 471. With the forest as the center, they circled around the perimeter and spread outwards. After spreading out for more than a mile, someone finally noticed Chu Li. Chu Li was sitting cross-legged under a pine tree, motionless. White steam was rising from the top of his head. The protector who noticed him did not make a sound. He walked over with his head lowered and whispered, Head Chief, let's go. Chu Li slowly opened his eyes. The protector was Song Changping, a grandmaster. He was not too eye-catching among the masters of the public house. He was handsome, but had a dull personality. He was quiet and did not like to talk to people. That was why people often ignored him after they got to know each other. At this moment, Song Changping stared at Chu Li. If His Royal Highness finds you, he will definitely take the opportunity to kill you. Chu Li smiled. I'm fine. If I can't beat him, I can still escape. Then don't show that you're injured. Song Changping hesitated and shook his head. Or else His Royal Highness will not let go of this opportunity. Chu Li laughed. His Royal Highness has seen me injured before. Sigh, that's true. I was so anxious that I became muddled. Song Changping slapped his forehead. Chu Li said, It's okay. How is His Royal Highness now? His Royal Highness martial arts has been crippled. Everyone is injured. Song Changping said helplessly. The masters of Amethyst Mountain are really powerful. Everyone is no match for them. If they wanted to kill His Royal Highness would not have survived. Chu Li sighed. Who would dare to kill His Royal Highness? That's true. Song Changping smiled. Head Chief, you have to be careful. His Royal Highness is not in a good mood. Once he sees you, he will definitely explode and blame everything on you. Chu Li nodded. Indeed, I have implicated everyone. Head Chief, is your injury all right? Song Changping asked. Chu Li smiled. It's not a big deal. I think it's better for you to return to the public house first. Wait for His Royal Highness to calm down before you appear. Otherwise, His Royal Highness will take it out on you. Chu Li sighed. His Royal Highness is really pitiful. Why did he get his martial arts crippled? I know. Song Changping smiled bitterly. His Royal Highness is really pitiful. No man can take it, let alone His Royal Highness. We can't spare these people from Amethyst Mountain. Chu Li scoffed. Chieftain, Song Changping said. His greatest wish was to stop provoking the Amethyst Mountain. They were as fast as ghosts, truly terrifying. Chu Li said, I'll have to disappoint Brother Song's good intentions. I'll have to meet the Royal Highness anyway. But, Song Changping hurriedly said. Chu Li smiled. Don't worry, if the Royal Highness really wants to kill me, I will escape. Sigh, all right. Song Changping looked at Chu Li helplessly. He felt that the chief steward still wanted to see His Highness in this situation. It was a bit pedantic. His Highness' palm strike was too chilling, but the chief steward acted like nothing had happened and didn't mind at all. He was too loyal. Chu Li said, Let's go, I'll go back with you. Head Chief, are we really going back? Song Changping asked. Chu Li nodded. All right. Song Changping said no more, and the two of them walked back together. Kingen was sitting in front of the bonfire. His face was gloomy. When he thought about how he needed 5 years to recover his cultivation level, his heart was filled with anger. He wanted nothing more than to cut Gung Huarong into 1,000 pieces. But he also knew that he couldn't do anything to Gung Huarong. Gung Huarong was a disciple of the previous generation of the Amethyst Mountain, hiding there. No matter how powerful the masters of the imperial court were, they wouldn't dare to go to the Amethyst Mountain. This was a tacit agreement between the imperial court and the four major sections. Whoever broke it first, the consequences would be unpredictable. Even if the emperor knew that his martial arts were crippled by the people of the Amethyst Mountain, he wouldn't stand up for him. He would only blame himself for not being capable. In the eyes of the emperor, as long as he didn't die, he wouldn't stand up for his son. "Your Royal Highness, the head chief is back," Su Ning said. King An's eyes widened, and he looked coldly at Chu Li, who was walking slowly towards him. Chu Li's face was pale, and he closed fist saluted. "Your Royal Highness, I'm back." "Why did you come back?" King An said coldly. "You didn't take the opportunity to escape, but came back to walk right into the trap?" Chu Li smiled. "Protecting your Royal Highness is my duty. How could I run away? You're really dutiful." King An gritted his teeth and glared at him. "If it wasn't for you, the people of the Amethyst Mountain wouldn't have come. That Gung Huarong injured me in order to force you to show yourself. You were hiding at the side, watching me get injured, and purposely didn't come out, am I right?" Chu Li said, "I was afraid that I would implicate everyone, so I ran far away." "What do you mean by that, Your Royal Highness?" "They ran back to deal with Your Royal Highness?" "Umph." King An gritted his teeth and sneered. "Ran far away? If they really ran far away, why would they come looking for us?" Chu Li shook his head. "They thought that they had the advantage of numbers and that I would run back to seek protection. You didn't come back. Your Royal Highness, their light body technique is too powerful. Even if I came back, it would be useless." Chu Li shook his head. "I wonder if Your Royal Highness injuries are serious?" "Not serious," King An said while gritting his teeth. Chu Li let out a long sigh of relief. "That's good." Su Ning said, "Your Royal Highness martial arts has been crippled, and the injuries on your body are extremely serious." His martial arts were crippled? Chu Li was shocked. "That can't be right. Why would the people from the Amethyst Mountain cripple Your Royal Highness martial arts?" Su Ning sighed. "They're probably afraid that Your Royal Highness will take revenge." The words of a Royal Highness with profound martial arts and a Royal Highness without martial arts carried a completely different weight. In today's world, martial arts were respected, and martial arts was the foundation. Even the princes were no exception. The strength of martial arts was an important criterion for inheriting the throne. If one's martial arts was too weak, he would not be able to become an enlightened master even if he ascended the throne. Chu Li frowned. What a vicious thought. "When will Your Royal Highness martial arts recover?" 3 years. Su Ning said, "Head Chief, the most important thing now is Your Royal Highness' health." Chu Li looked at King, and King An's eyes seemed to be spitting fire. He glared at him. "Guards!" Zheng lied, whose face was sallow and breathing weak, quickly responded, "Your Royal Highness." The protectors felt that something was wrong. The Royal Highness was probably going to order the head chief to be killed. King An stared at Chu Li and said slowly, "Head chief, you've worked so hard. Get the head chief something to eat." "Yes." Zheng Li was taken aback and hurriedly agreed. Chu Li closed fists saluted. "Thank you, Your Royal Highness. Have a good meal." King An said coldly, "Our imperial residence still depends on you." "Yes, it's my duty," Chu Li said slowly. Su Ning let out a smile. Only in times of crisis could a hero be seen. No matter how impulsive or narrow-minded he was usually, King An could still tolerate what others could not during critical times. He suppressed all his impulses and adopted the method that was most beneficial to the throne. Chu Li sat opposite King An. He ate the game that Zheng Li served. As he ate, he asked, "What injuries did Your Royal Highness suffer?" King An's face darkened again. Su Ning shook his head. "His internal organs were injured. I'm afraid he won't be able to recover in a short period of time." King An's most fatal injuries were his kidneys. They were completely destroyed. Not only were his meridians injured, but if it were not for his strong internal organs and the support of the spirit medicine, he would have died. Gung Huarong's palm was extremely ruthless. His kidneys were destroyed, and King N's heirs were cut off. King N did not have a son. It was almost impossible for him to inherit the throne. If he did not have any heirs, there was a possibility for him to inherit the throne. Once he succeeded the throne, how could he forget the humiliation today? Gung Huarong's palm had destroyed this possibility. Chapter 472. P.S. The next chapter might be late. Please forgive me. It might be posted at the same time as the 4 o'clock chapter. I'll try my best to write, but I'm writing slower and slower. Such a serious injury. Chu Li frowned. How about this? I have a unique way of healing. I'll take a look at your Royal Highness. King N waved his hand decisively. No need. Let's go back and get the Imperial physician. All right. Looks like we have to go back as soon as possible. How about this? I'll bring you back first, your Royal Highness, and find the Imperial physician as soon as possible, so as not to delay your injury. Su Ning can bring me, King N said coldly. Head Chief, your injury is not light either. You should heal yourself first. Chu Li looked at him helplessly. King N stared at him coldly. If he killed Chu Li now, then King N's imperial residence would be finished. His brothers would definitely not let go of this opportunity. He was heavily injured, it would be difficult to turn the tide, and he would definitely be forced to leave the fight for the throne. For the throne, he could only bear with it, and use Chu Li's ability to support the imperial residence. Before he died, he would squeeze him dry and use his ability. Thinking about it this way, it was a happy thing. Su Ning said, Head Chief, you're injured. It's not suitable for you to hurry on the journey. I'll bring your Royal Highness back tonight. Everyone can slowly walk back. Chu Li hurriedly said, We're not going to the High Duke's public house. There's also a divine healer there. He's not inferior to the imperial physician. He might even be better. No need, King N said coldly. He wanted to seal Chu Li's mouth and not let him speak. Of course, Chu Li went against him. He kept talking and asking about his well-being. He played the role of a loyal head chief flawlessly. The protectors secretly praised him and felt that he was pedantic. Why'd he have to be like this? Chu Li understood King N's injury. From now on, King N would not have any lustful thoughts. He would not get close to the second lady. If it was any other palm energy, King N might be able to recover with the medical skills of the imperial physician. The Golden Lohan's power was magical after all. However, the Heaven's Thunder Palm was extremely unique. It was the strongest yang in the world, a true destructive power. His kidneys were completely dead, no different from being removed. It was impossible for him to recover completely. The key to causing such devastating damage was that Chu Li had destroyed his Dantian and crippled his martial arts. He was now like an ordinary person, unable to resist or dispel the Heaven's Thunder Palm force. The Heaven's Thunder Palm force was already shocking enough with the help of his inner force. Without it, the Heaven's Thunder Palm force would be completely unleashed, and his kidneys would be doomed. Chu Li snickered in his heart, but his face was solemn. After eating the game, he sat down cross-legged and started channeling to heal himself. Su Ning and King N left quietly without alerting the protectors. Chu Li closed his eyes and pretended not to know anything. He watched them disappear and sighed in relief. This time, it was considered successful. He disguised himself as Gung Huarong and injured Prince Sin, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. At the same time, he could vent his anger and let Prince Sin rest for a while. Would the Amethyst Mountain give up and send more elite fighters over? With the 4th level of the heavenly demonic power, he was more confident. He was even looking forward to them coming again to help him advance his heavenly demonic power to the next level. The Shadow Thunder Palm and the Heaven's Thunder Palm force were great supplements for the heavenly demonic power. It was an excellent opportunity to cultivate. The martial arts of the Tempest Temple did not have such an effect. It seemed that he and the Amethyst Mountain were fated. After Prince Sin left, Chu Li prepared to leave as well. He asked the protectors to return to the imperial residence of Prince, and while he continued to the High Duke's public house. At dawn, seeing the protectors leave, Chu Li let out a sigh of relief. Finally, it was over. His merit was complete, and he had gained a lot. Amazing, amazing. A crisp and moving voice suddenly came from behind him. Chu Li turned around. Lu Yurong stood on top of a pine tree, her white robe fluttering in the wind. You saw everything? Chu Li asked. Lu Yurong exclaimed, your method of killing with a borrowed knife is really brilliant. I am far inferior. Chu Li had the omniscient mirror. What Lu Yurong saw was what he purposely let her see. Lu Yurong did not know that he had the ability to transform. She thought that the Gung Huarong behind her was the real one. Chu Li smiled. If it were you, you would have done the same thing, flipping the clouds and turning the rain. Lu Yurong shook her head. I am inferior. If I had to say, His Highness King and is also an outstanding person. He could actually endure it. She originally thought that King and would order the protectors to kill Chu Li. She did not expect King and to be able to endure it and even change his face. These princes should not be underestimated. The things that were passed down in their bones were extraordinary. Chu Li originally planned that if no one from the Amethyst Mountain came, Lu Yurong would attack King and injure him so that he could not go to the High Duke's public house. The Amethyst Mountain came in time to assassinate him. Lu Yurong did not have a place to use her skills. She could only watch a good show. When Chu Li asked her to make a move, they had already agreed that regardless of whether she made a move or not, she would be added as a spy. Chu Li sighed. So you have to be careful of him. Be careful of what? Lu Yurong fluttered over to him, bringing with her a faint fragrance. His martial arts has been crippled. It will take him 3 to 5 years to recover. You can take a breather now. He won't kill you immediately. Chu Li shook his head. That might not be the case. He might have to kill me first. If he kills you, the imperial residence of King and will be finished. Lu Yurong scoffed. If he didn't know about this, would he not kill you? Is your injury okay? Chu Li looked at her with a faint smile. I am flattered that Miss Lu is so concerned about me. Of course I care about your life. Lu Yurong glanced at him and said, if you are injured, I can help you heal. Chu Li waved his hand. Thank you. My injury is fine. Are you sure? Lu Yurong asked calmly. Chu Li said, at least you can't kill me now. Lu Yurong scoffed. Nonsense. I have no intention of killing you. Chu Li smiled and shook his head. Lu Yurong said, all right, since you are fine, I will leave first. If she was confident, she would not kill Chu Li, but she wanted to cripple his martial arts. Without martial arts, Chu Li, who only had intelligence, was not that scary. It was a good thing for the Ren public house and the imperial residence of King Jing, even if his martial arts were weaker. Chu Li smiled. Why don't you try? He suddenly appeared behind Lu Yurong in a flash and hit her with his palm. Bam! Lu Yurong's right palm looked like it was carved out of white jade, smooth and delicate. When it collided with his palm, both of them took 2 steps back in the air and landed on the treetops. Chu Li said, you really have the intention to kill. If Lu Yurong did not have the intention to kill, she would not have attacked so calmly. Lu Yurong said, same to you. Again, Chu Li flashed again and appeared in front of Lu Yurong. He hit her with his right palm. Lu Yurong's whole body looked like it was carved out of white jade. Warm light flowed around her as she blocked Chu Li's attack. Bam! Both of them flew out again. Lu Yurong frowned. She felt that Chu Li was stronger than before and more difficult to deal with. Chu Li said, Miss Lu, you have to work harder, lest you fall too far behind me. Don't forget what you promised. Lu Yurong rolled her eyes at him and flew away. Chapter 473. P.S. I finally finished writing this chapter. Oh, I'm going crazy. The update schedule is going to be messed up. But don't worry, I'll write 6 chapters today, even if I have to kowtow to the ground. Public House. Symphony Island. Early in the morning, the Symphony Island was shrouded in a thin layer of mist, like a veil, and the air was fresh. Co. Shi and Co. Chi were sitting in the gazebo, holding teacups that were surrounded by white steam as they chatted. Both of them were wearing moon-white gowns. Their faces were like white jade, and their eyebrows were somewhat similar. They were so beautiful that it was dazzling. Little sister, are you not going to wait for Big Brother's wedding? There are too many people here. I'm leaving today. Don't tell me we're leaving now. After drinking tea, I will leave the mansion. Not waiting for Chu Li to come back? Xiao Shi put down her teacup. Xiao Qi gently shook her head. Xiao Shi looked at her with a frown. Xiao Qi said, "Second eldest sister, I've chosen this path. I'm destined to be alone for the rest of my life. Why should I trouble Chu Li?" Xiao Shi was surprised. Is your regal sword scripture really that powerful? Can you really forget Chu Li? So what if I forget? So what if I can't forget? Xiao Qi shook her head and said, "It's just like Buddhism's liberation. Once you get over it and let it go, there won't be any turbulence in your heart. You won't be too excited and worried." How do you feel when you see Chu Li now? Xiao Shi was curious. She had heard from Xiao Qi about the two of them, so she knew why Chu Li always wore a white robe. She knew that Chu Li had taken the initiative to cut off his feelings for her. She felt that he was stupid and pitiful at the same time. He had fallen in love with a cold woman like her third younger sister, yet they had to separate and could not be together. It was really cruel. Xiao Qi furrowed her brows. It's like meeting an old friend. It's very kind and warm. Not excited. There's nothing to be excited about. This regal sword scripture is really powerful. Xiao Shi shook her head and sighed. Let's not cultivate it. It's too torturous. I don't feel like I'm being tortured. It's Chu Li who's being tortured, Xiao Qi said. If you have time, try to persuade him. Don't waste your time on me. It would be weird if he could listen. Xiao Shi pouted her red lips. Do you really have to cultivate that sword scripture? Xiao Qi picked up the teacup and took a sip. It's my only hope to become an enlightened master. Sigh. Xiao Shi shook her head and said, why does it have to be an enlightened master? This is good enough. Fate is in the hands of others, Xiao Qi said. Haven't we siblings suffered enough? When their father left, the huge public house was only handed over to a few children. The burden and fear they carried could not be told to outsiders. A marriage alliance with the Hawaii public house and the imperial residence of King would be enough to deal with threats from others. Where's the emperor? The emperor won't deal with us, right? I'm the meat on someone else's chopping block. I don't like this feeling. Xiao Qi said, second eldest sister, you're in fairy's capital, so you can feel the emperor's majesty even more. Your life is in his hands. All right. Xiao Shi nodded and said, you're right, but what if you don't succeed even after cultivating for a lifetime? If I can't master by 30, I'll give up, Xiao Qi said. Xiao Shi smiled. There's finally hope for Chu Li. Xiao Qi glanced at her. Xiao Shi snapped. Did I say something wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Second eldest sister, do you think Chu Li will be with me? Xiao Qi said faintly. One of you is in love and the other is interested. Why won't you be together? Xiao Shi scoffed. Stop torturing him. Xiao Qi shook her head gently. Just like a mirror with a crack, there will be a crack when you put it back together. If there's a crack, then there's a crack. There's nothing in this world that doesn't have a crack. Xiao Shi said snappily, just be content. When you're 30, even if he doesn't like you, you just have to hold on to him. Xiao Qi revealed a smile. This was the difference between her and second eldest sister. One was more practical, while the other was more spiritual. Chu Li suddenly appeared in the pagoda and interrupted the two women's conversation. Xiao Shi waved her hand. Chu Li, you came just in time. I was about to leave. Chu Li looked at Xiao Qi. Xiao Qi nodded calmly. I can't attend Big Brother's wedding. In case too many people see, I have to leave quietly. I'll send you back, Chu Li said. Xiao Qi looked at him and slowly nodded. Xiao Shi smiled. Then you send me back first. What about Princeton? Xiao Qi asked. Chu Li let out a smile. It's settled. He returned to the imperial residence and won't come back to cause trouble. How did you deal with him? Xiao Shi quickly asked. He won't go back obediently. I sneaked an attack and crippled his martial arts, of course. Chu Li smiled. That's ruthless. But it was really satisfying. I crippled his martial arts. Xiao Shi pursed her lips and smiled. He's going crazy this time. Chu Li said, Second lady, stay here for a while longer so that he won't vent his anger on you. Of course. Xiao Shi smiled. I don't want to go back. Xiao Qi frowned. How can you be so reckless? What if the emperor? As long as you don't kill him, the emperor won't care. Chu Li shook his head. The Emperor treats me as Prince and Whetstone. Since I'm a Whetstone, of course, I have to train him well. It'll only take him 3 to 5 years to cultivate again. It's not a big deal. You have to be careful. Shao Qi muttered. The Emperor is an enlightened master. He can do whatever he wants. He might not do as you think. Yes, I'll be careful, Chu Li said. Shao Shi pursed her lips and smiled. All right, you guys can leave. Don't hang around me. Shao Qi glanced at her faintly and then looked at Chu Li. Send me back. Chu Li extended his hand and held her wrist through her sleeves. He suddenly disappeared in front of Shao Shi. After a few flashes, Chu Li and Shao Qi appeared in Snow Lunar Pavilion, in a waterside pavilion on the lake. Shao Qi frowned and looked at him. Are you hurt? Chu Li said, It's nothing serious. Fairy's capital is very dangerous. Be careful. You should go back first, Shao Qi said slowly. Chu Li said, You're going to go into isolated cultivation soon? Yes. When will you come out? Shao Qi said, I'm not planning to come out. I'll stay in isolated cultivation until I become an enlightened master. Chu Li sighed and nodded. All right, I'm leaving. He suddenly disappeared in front of Shao Qi. Shao Qi frowned and looked at where he was standing. There was still a trace of his aura in the waterside pavilion. It was an aura that was familiar, yet unfamiliar to her. She quickly put aside her distracting thoughts and focused on thinking about the regal sword scripture. If she wanted to improve, she had to understand the regal sword scripture and understand its wonders. When Chu Li returned to the island of Symphony, Shao Shi looked at him with a smile like a flower. Chu Li had already sorted out his emotions. He decided not to think about it anymore. He would think about it later. She was going into isolated cultivation anyway, so he was not in a hurry. Once he reached the enlightened master's boundary, spending time with her would naturally rekindle their old feelings. Shao Shi shook her head and pouted her red lips. She scoffed. You're back so soon. You're really useless. Chu Li said, Second lady, you really have nothing to worry about. You should think about Master Shao. Big Brother and the others have already left. There's nothing to worry about, Shao Shi said. Kingen is not here. I don't think anyone will do anything. Chu Li frowned. There might be assassins along the way. Why didn't they wait for me? They can handle it, Shao Shi said. You're also a worrywart. Just pretend you didn't come back. Chu Li thought about it and could only do so. Chapter 474. It was rare for Chu Li to let it go. He did not think about Master Shao Taiying sweating anymore. He believed that Master Shao Taiying would be able to overcome any assassinations along the way. 6 days later, the wedding procession returned to Chongming Town. In the morning, the whole town was in a festive atmosphere. Strings of red lanterns were hung all over the town. Every household consciously hung red silk on their doors. The whole town was in a festive mood. The public house was deeply loved by the people of Chongming Town. Master Shao Taiying had a good reputation and was loved by the people. Before the wedding procession entered the town, the people had already gathered on both sides of the street or stood in the restaurants, waiting to see the bride and groom. Chu Li and Tian Shi walked on both sides of the street, with 2 grandmasters following behind them. Chief Chu, there should be no problem. Tian Shi wore a sapphire blue gown. He walked calmly and elegantly. All the spies in the town have been activated. No one out of the ordinary has entered the town. Outsiders have been banned since last night. Chu Li walked slowly and nodded with his hands behind his back. The 2 grandmasters looked left and right. They had sharp senses. If there was someone with murderous intent, they would be able to sense it. They would discover it in advance and send the person away to avoid destruction later. Chu Li suddenly stopped. Tian Shi and the other 2 grandmasters stopped as well. Chief Chu, is there a problem? Tian Shi asked. Chu Li pointed at the sky and the one with embroidered clothes up there. Tian Shi looked up. Chu Li said, the one with a yellow face and doesn't know martial arts. Do you see him? Is there a problem with this person? Tian Shi frowned. I don't think he knows martial arts. Chu Li nodded. There is no problem with him. The person behind him is. Behind. Tian Shi raised his head and looked around, but he didn't see anyone behind the old man. Chu Li said, "He is a powerful person. And shall we go up and take a look?" Tianshi tried to ask. After he came to the public house, he realized how high Chu Li's position in the public house was. Even if he left, he still had a huge influence. As long as he sent a message, everyone in the public house would obey. This was the supreme prestige. If it was not for Master Xiao Taiying's open and magnanimous attitude, others would not be able to tolerate his existence. Although Tianshi was proud of his intelligence, he did not challenge Chu Li's position. Instead, he displayed his intelligence bit by bit and did not provoke Master Xiao Taiying's scruples. After all, he was different from Chu Li. Chu Li started off as a servant in the High Duke's public house. Step by step, it seemed like he had ascended to the sky in a single bound, but it was all a single footprint. It was just that his contributions were too quick and too big. One step at a time, there was no shortcut. On the other hand, because of Chu Li's recommendation, he had directly stepped into the upper echelons of the House of High Dukes to give advice to Master Xiao Taiying. He was more like a strategist, completely different from Chu Li, who had risen from the bottom. If his foundation was not stable, he would not be able to reach his position. It was impossible for him to reach the stage where he could command everyone to follow his orders. Chu Li, Tianshi, and the two grandmasters stepped onto the third floor of the Sky Inn. Tianshi glanced at the middle-aged man standing beside the old man. He had a medium build, a dignified appearance, and a righteous expression on his face, giving people a good impression of him. After the four of them entered, the middle-aged man glanced at them and looked out of the window. His gaze was calm. Tianshi could not feel any murderous intent from him. Instead, he was calm and peaceful. Chu Li came in front of the middle-aged man. "Brother, sorry to disturb you, but why do you have to throw away your golden years?" "What do you mean, sir?" The middle-aged man frowned. Chu Li said, "Brother, you are from the returning sword sect, right?" The middle-aged man shook his head. Chu Li smiled. "I'm not afraid of death, but I'm afraid of revealing my sect. Isn't it a pity to die in obscurity?" "What do you mean, sir?" "I don't understand." The middle-aged man scoffed. "What returning sword sect? What do you mean by dying?" "I just want to watch the show. Who are you people?" Chu Li said, "Su Quan of the returning sword sect, right?" The middle-aged man frowned and finally got rid of his wishful thinking. As a secret master of the returning sword sect, he actually knew his name. Could there be a traitor? But he was the only one who knew about this. He had never told anyone else. Chu Li sighed. "I admire Brother Su's loyalty, but I really can't agree with you. The returning sword sect is digging its own grave. Why must you be buried with it? I was born as a member of the returning sword sect, and I'll die as a ghost of the returning sword sect." Su Quan said coldly. "Who are you?" Chu Li said, "I'm Chu Li, the chief of the Gloriesville courtyard." "No wonder it's you." Su Quan suddenly realized. He had heard about Chu Li from the public house for a long time. It was said that Chu Li's wisdom was comparable to that of a celestial being. Now it seemed that Chu Li's reputation was well-deserved. He actually knew his identity. Chu Li sighed. "Brother Su, do you really want to die with me?" "That's right," Su Quan said in a deep voice. The surrounding people had already slowly backed away, making way for them. Chu Li said, "If that's the case, then I can only offend you." As soon as he finished speaking, he appeared behind Su Quan in a flash and lightly pressed his palm on his back. Su Quan had just moved a little, but he immediately froze. Chu Li followed up with 3 more palm strikes, one on his shoulders and the back of his waist, completely sealing his acupuncture points. Tianshi was secretly shocked. Chu Li's body movement technique was so fast that it was impossible to defend against it, and no one could react in time. Chu Li sighed and waved his hand. "Brother Su, please go to the High Duke's public house for a chat and try to persuade him." "I'll bring him back," a grandmaster said. Chu Li smiled. "Thank you, Elder Cheng." The grandmaster shook his head, smiled, and carried Su Quan as he fluttered away. Chu Li fist saluted and smiled at the surrounding people. "Everyone, sorry to disturb you." "You're welcome, Chief Chu." The crowd fist saluted and smiled. Chu Li's reputation grew as time passed, and he was already a legendary figure in Chongming Town, especially when he left Chongming Town for the fairy's capital and became the head chief of the imperial residence. He became famous in the fairy's capital, and it added to his legendary aura. Chu Li, Tian Shi, and another grandmaster left the Sky Inn and continued to walk along the street. Tian Shi asked in surprise, "How did Chief Chu find him?" Chu Li smiled. "Intuition. Maybe my intuition is sharper." "Miraculous." Tian Shi shook his head. That Su Quan was also an experienced assassin, and he hid his body very well, evading Tian Shi's sight, and he was able to completely hide his killing intent, avoiding the senses of a grandmaster. He was really a master. However, such a master was actually discovered by Chu Li from so far away. Chu Li's intuition was somewhat beyond imagination, and it was almost divine. Chu Li smiled. "This is nothing. I'll naturally get used to it after some time. Our mission is very important. We have to go around the town twice. With this method, we should be able to go around it." Tian Shi smiled. Chu Li nodded. The group continued to walk along the street. Chu Li knew that it was difficult to kill all the dangers, but it was better to kill as many as possible, and it was better than to cause trouble later. The noise came from afar, and then the sound of various musical instruments could be heard. The crowd was like a flood, and it kept surging in this direction. Tian Shi smiled. "Master Xiao Taiying has entered the town." Chu Li said, "Let's go." The real time to test the protectors had arrived, and they did not know how many people would come to cause trouble. The three of them quickly approached and saw Master Xiao Taiying sitting on a snow-white horse, in high spirits and full of heroic spirit. Chapter 475. Xiao Taiying looked down from his horse and waved at Chu Li. Chu Li closed fists, saluted, and smiled. Amidst the music, the crowd moved forward. Chu Li and Tian Shi were in the middle of the crowd, surrounded by people. It was as if they were in the middle of the sea. They could not help but be carried forward. Chu Li was like a fish in the sea, moving swiftly and smoothly. He patted a person lightly, then went out and patted another person. Tian Shi saw him patting the shoulders of three people in the crowd. The three people's faces turned pale. They were injured. Chu Li's body movement technique was fast, and his inner energy was strong. The three people were masters in hiding, but they could not escape his eyes. One by one, they were injured and could no longer jump out to cause trouble. Tian Shi could not help but praise him. What good technique! Chu Li had such a reputation, and it was not by luck that he had such a reputation. He had a real ability that people could not compare to. There was no way to be jealous. Chu Li moved through the crowd like a fish. He looked at the shaking red bridal sedan and shook his head with a smile. Master Xiao Taiying also knew how to play tricks. There was no one in the sedan. It was an empty sedan. The bride had probably already entered the public house or would sneak into the public house later. This was a foolproof move. If there was an assassination, the bride would not be hurt. The crowd moved. Chu Li moved through the crowd and stopped the six masters. He protected the wedding procession all the way to the public house's main gate. Once they entered the main gate, they would be safe. He was finally able to take a good breath and completely relax. As soon as he stepped into the public house's main gate, Lin Quan quietly came over and whispered, "Chief Chu, someone from the Imperial House is here." Chu Li raised his eyebrows. "The Imperial House? It's the scribe from the Imperial House. They brought a lot of rewards. I'm afraid it's from the Emperor." Lin Quan lowered his voice. Chu Li frowned and slowly nodded. "All right, I'll go welcome them." He was afraid that they did not come with good intentions. The Emperor would not welcome the marriage between the two public houses. Lin Quan said, "The scribe from the Imperial House is already outside the town. Master Xiao Taiying is entering the public house. I thought it would be better not to disturb Master Xiao Taiying." Chu Li replied, I'll greet the scribes from the Imperial House first. Then I'll observe the situation and send someone over to inform Master Xiao Taiying if they're going to officially welcome him." What a coincidence! "Yes," Lin Quan replied in a low voice and quietly retreated. Chu Li, on the other hand, brought along a few protectors and traveled along a secluded path using his light body technique. Not only did the noise in the city not dissipate, it became even more fervent. When Chuli arrived outside the city gate, he saw a few young men in purple robes sitting on horses outside the city. There were a total of 6 of them, and they were surrounding 2 carriages. They were sizing up Chongming town and wanted to enter the town. "Are you scribes from the imperial house?" Chuli greeted them with a fist salute. "I am Chu Li, chief of the High Duke's public house." The knight in the lead was a handsome young man with a tall and straight figure. He was indeed a rare handsome man. With a sincere smile on his handsome face, he jumped off the horse and cupped his fists. "Chief Steward Chu, this lowly one is Lin Yuanshan. I have come under the Emperor's orders to congratulate Xiao Gongye on his wedding." The rest of the scribes also jumped off the horse and cupped their fists to return the gesture. Chu Li smiled. "Lin Feng Zhao, Master Xiao Gongye could not come and greet you personally, so he ordered me to greet you on his behalf. I hope that Lin Feng Zhao will not be offended." He could see Lin Yuanshan's official rank. The scribes from the imperial house also had official ranks, and their ranks were similar to those from the imperial house. Lin Yuanshan was a rank 5 Feng Zhao. In the imperial house, which was even stricter than the imperial house, it was rare for him to be so young. He had a bright future ahead of him. "Hee, what are you talking about?" Lin Yuanshan waved his hand and smiled. "Master Xiao Gongye has just brought the bride in. If we were to ask Master Xiao Gongye to leave the bride behind and come and greet us, that would be rude." Chuli laughed. "Lin Feng Zhao is here on behalf of the Emperor. How can we neglect him? Let's enter the public house first, and then let Master Xiao Gongye toast everyone. Come, please." All right, then let's not stand on ceremony," Lin Yuanshan smiled. Under Chu Li's company, everyone entered the town. Looking at the bustling Chongming town, Lin Yuanshan smiled. It seems that Master Xiao Gongye is indeed a virtuous person and has the support of the people. Chu Li smiled. "Let's all join in the fun. It's rare to have such a happy event. As for saying that it's from Master Xiao Gongye, that's just flattering Master Xiao Gongye. Head Chief Chu Li is too humble. We've heard of Master Xiao Gongye's virtuous name in the imperial house." Lin Yuanshan shook his head and smiled. As the saying goes, hearing about him is not as good as meeting him in person. This time, I've finally witnessed Master Xiao Gongye's prestige. Chu Li said, "It's fine if it's just the public house, but once we leave Chongming town, there aren't many people who know Master Xiao Gongye. I've even caught a few assassins just now. There are many people who like Master Xiao Gongye, but there are even more people who hate Master Xiao Gongye. Sigh, this is the fate of the public house. There's nothing we can do about it." Yes. Lin Yuanshan quickly nodded. The public house has worked hard. It's really tough. Chu Li smiled. Lin Feng Zhao has such thoughts. On behalf of the protectors of the public house, I want to thank you. Everyone understands the hard work of the public house. Lin Yuanshan smiled. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. Everyone understands the hard work of the public house, but they tend to overlook it. They think that it's the public house's business and that the protectors of the public house deserve to die. Sigh. Lin Yuanshan sighed. Everyone is raised by their parents. Who would have such thoughts? Chu Li said, "There's always a group of people in the imperial court who are against the public house. They think that the public house is too powerful and should be abolished." Lin Yuanshan nodded. Yes, these people don't know the dangers of the martial arts world. They think that the public house is too powerful. However, most people understand the public house and know the severity of the situation. Chu Li sighed. It's all thanks to the Emperor's insight. That's right. Lin Yuanshan closed fists saluted towards the fairy's capital. The Emperor's insight is vast. No one can deceive him. Chu Li knew that Lin Yuanshan was here to deliver gifts, but he also had the responsibility of visiting the Emperor. He had to report everything he had seen and heard along the way to the Emperor. Naturally, he could not let the Emperor feel that Chongming town was like an iron bucket, where everyone was crowding around Master Xiao Taiying. When they arrived at the public house, there was already a group of people standing outside the public house. Master Xiao Taiying had received the news from Chu Li and was waiting with everyone. When Lin Yuanshan saw this, he closed fists, saluted, and laughed. Master Xiao, you're too kind. I'm here on the Emperor's order to congratulate you on your wedding. The Emperor has given me a number of gifts. Please allow me to read the list of gifts. Thank you, Lin Fengzhao. Xiao Taiying closed fists, saluted. Lin Yuanshan took out a booklet from his sleeve and started reading 10 pieces of 8 jewels, a pair of jade scepter, 6 sets of natural silk quilts. Everyone was speechless. The Emperor was generous, and all of them were treasures. After Lin Yuanshan finished reading, he kept the booklet and waved his hand. 2 carriages slowly approached each other. A scribe from the imperial house got on the carriage and opened up 4 big boxes. Instantly, the smell of pearls and jewels filled the air. Xiao Taiying smiled and closed fists, saluted. Chu Li and his men kept the carriages and entered the public house. Everyone took their seats. Lin Yuanshan sat on the main seat with Chu Li accompanying him. Chapter 476. P.S. My sincere apologies for being late. I clenched my teeth and forced myself to complete 6 chapters in the end. Without everyone's support, I might have given up today. Thanks again. Chu Li poured a cup of wine for Lin Yuanshan. Lin Fengzhao didn't bring any protectors with him. A few of them. Lin Yuanshan pointed at a few scribes sitting nearby. They're all protectors, but they are disguised as scribes to avoid attracting attention. Fortunately, the House of High Duke's territory is peaceful. It was just a false alarm. Chu Li smiled. If these treasures are snatched away by someone else, that would really be. Lin Yuanshan smiled bitterly and said, I've been on tenterhooks along the way. I didn't even dare to relax for a moment. I couldn't even sleep well. Chu Li said, they know that they can't provoke Master Xiao Ting during his wedding, so they've all become well-behaved. Otherwise, it's hard to say if these 2 carriages of treasures would be snatched away. Lin Yuanshan smiled and said, Eldest young master is really good at managing the residence. It's so peaceful. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. I'm sure Lin Fengzhao has heard about the disturbance that happened a while ago. That's why he's so well-behaved now that the storm has just passed. He's not usually this calm, so Lin Fengzhao should be careful. I see. Lin Yuanshan nodded. Amidst the clamor of the crowd, the eldest young master ended the ceremonial ceremony and began to toast to everyone. The hall became more and more lively. During this period, Chu Li would wake up from time to time and walk around the public house to see if there were any rascals asking for trouble. After walking 1 round, he returned to the table and continued to talk to Lin Yuanshan, urging him to drink. Chu Li could see through Lin Yuanshan's thoughts, so he went along with the flow of the wine. Even though Lin Yuanshan was shrewd and careful, he couldn't help but let down his guard and call Chu Li his brother. After the prosperity, the public house seemed empty. Chu Li bid farewell to Co Shi and Co Taiying. He left the public house and returned to the fairy's capital with Lin Yuanshan. The High Duke's public house could not help but let these people travel alone. If something really happened, they would not be able to escape responsibility. Chu Li's escort was the best solution. Early in the morning, Chu Li and the others left the public house and headed towards the fairy's capital. It would only take them 2 days to reach the fairy's capital. The morning air was fresh and pleasant, and his mood was inexplicably refreshed. Chu Li and Lin Yuanshan walked side by side. Brother Chu, there's actually no need to escort us. Lin Yuanshan smiled. The High Duke's public house is very safe. Nothing will happen. Moreover, we don't have any treasures now, so we won't get into any trouble. The 2 of them were now addressing each other as brothers. Lin Yuanshan's relationship with Chu Li had deepened after getting drunk yesterday. Chu Li shook his head. Lin Yuanshan smiled and said, What is Brother Xiao worried about? Chu Li said, People of the martial arts world are the least afraid of death. In order to take revenge on the High Duke's public house, they would rather perish together. During the wedding, I caught more than 10 martial arts masters. They all had good cultivation levels, but they did not want to live. They wanted to sacrifice themselves to assassinate Master Xiao. Sigh. These martial artists are too hot-blooded. Lin Yuanshan shook his head and sighed. I do admire it, but it's a pity that it can't be used in the right way. How good would it be if it could be used to kill enemies? That's right. Chuli nodded. These people are very stubborn. I admire them very much, but I can't persuade them. How did Brother Xiao deal with it? Cripple his martial arts. Lin Yuanshan looked like he could not bear to see it. Crippling their martial arts is actually quite serious. Without martial arts, it's over. If I don't cripple their martial arts, I can only take their lives. Chuli looked helpless. I really can't bear to kill these people. But if I don't kill them, the damage they cause is shocking. If it's not handled well, the protectors of the High Duke's public house might die. That's true. Lin Yuanshan nodded. Chuli said, crippling their martial arts is considered good. If they want to recover, they can slowly train. Even if they can't, at least they'll be stronger than normal martial arts masters. They're not young anymore. It'll be hard for them to return to their peak. All right, Brother Lin, you've been in the Imperial House for a long time. Do you know of any way to recover martial arts? About that, Lin Yuanshan thought for a while and shook his head. I don't think there's a way. Everyone knows that it's easy to save people, but it's hard to recover martial arts. Can the Emperor do it? Chuli asked. The Emperor is an enlightened master. Lin Yuanshan smiled. An enlightened master is just a martial arts master. He's not an enlightened master. Chuli was secretly happy. I heard that an enlightened master has an incredible divine power. They can see through everything and nothing can hide. Everyone doesn't understand an enlightened master. It's just a rumor. Lin Yuanshan shook his head. Actually, it's not that strange. I've always been by the Emperor's side, and I didn't notice anything different about him. The Emperor must be very powerful, right? Chuli asked. Lin Yuanshan laughed. The Emperor is like someone who doesn't practice martial arts. He's very kind. However, no one dares to be careless. The Emperor is usually kind, but once he makes a mistake, he'll be ruthless. Being with the Emperor is like being with a tiger. Chuli laughed. Lin Yuanshan shook his head and laughed, but he didn't say anything. Chuli said, I'm very curious about an enlightened master. Unfortunately, I don't have the fortune to stay by the Emperor's side. Lin Yuanshan laughed. Actually, for what I see, the Emperor is more like a normal person. He doesn't look like a martial arts master. An enlightened master, Chuli said. Lin Yuanshan said, all these years, the Emperor hasn't used any martial arts. From what I know, an enlightened master can be possessed by an enlightened master. They aren't enlightened masters themselves. Chuli raised his eyebrows. Possessed by an enlightened master? Chuli had always wanted to befriend Lin Yuanshan because he wanted to find out the secrets of an enlightened master. Moreover, having someone close to him in the Imperial House would be very beneficial to him in the future. Lin Yuanshan was a cautious person. He was the only one who could use the effects of alcohol, the omniscient mirror, and the right time to open up his guard. If he missed this opportunity, it would be difficult for him to communicate with him. More importantly, Lin Yuanshan had a good heart. He wasn't a cold-hearted person. He could be trusted and cooperated with. Lin Yuanshan said, the 4 major sects have this secret skill. Actually, it's just a fake enlightened master. Once they use the enlightened master's possession, the enlightened master will control them. After that, it will cause damage to their body. Most of these secret skills have a very strong backlash. They can only use it a few times in their lifetime. However, an enlightened master can control an enlightened master. There are no side effects after using the enlightened master's possession. This is an enlightened master? Chuli was shocked. Lin Yuanshan laughed. Isn't that enough? Once an enlightened master's possession is done, no one will be able to defeat him. Moreover, some enlightened master's divine powers can be used as well. One person can fight against an entire country. This is an enlightened master, Lin Yuanshan said with a look of fascination. Chuli laughed. Brother Lin, you want to become an enlightened master too? It's impossible for me. Lin Yuanshan shook his head. Not everyone can become an enlightened master. Brother Chu, since you're so curious, you want to become an enlightened master too, right? Yes, Chuli admitted. He knew that honesty was the best way to get along with Lin Yuanshan. Lin Yuanshan hated lies. Lin Yuanshan frowned. Difficult. Difficult. Chu Li laughed. Brother Lin, do you have any ideas? Cultivating the 4 major sects martial arts can help you reach the enlightened master's boundary. Lin Yuanshan pondered. But it's getting harder. Other than that, there seems to be no other way. Chapter 477. Chu Li already knew what Lin Yuanshan had said. However, he had gained a lot, especially from what Lin Yuanshan had said about the emperor's usual appearance. It felt like a person without any martial arts. This was a strange state. Other martial arts masters could not do it, but he could. Usually, inner energy would be scattered outside, leaving only a trace in the dantian. With a single thought, spiritual energy from all directions would rush in, turning into turbulent inner energy. This was using the void of the world as the dantian. For the emperor to be able to do this, his method might be different from his own. Usually, he didn't need inner force. With just a thought, he could be possessed by the gods and instantly reach the pinnacle state. In that case, this divine possession was also a burden to the emperor, and he couldn't maintain it forever. He had seen the enlightened master's possession on the disciples of the Tempest Temple and the Titanium Temple. It was truly terrifying. His heavenly demonic power had reached level 4, and when the heavenly demonic energy was attached to his chest, he had actually reached a similar state. His strength was several times stronger than usual. Others were possessed by the heavenly god, but he was possessed by the heavenly demon. He vaguely figured out the trick. These martial arts that could allow God's possession and Sky Demon's possession were very likely God's martial arts. As long as they cultivated it to the extreme, they could reach the God's realm. The Vajra Sarira art made use of Sariras. Once cultivated to a certain level, one would be able to form a Sarira themselves and use the Sarira to summon the Buddha to possess their body. The power was boundless, and that was the heavenly God realm. Where was his heavenly demonic power? He did not know where the limit of the heavenly demonic power was. Currently, he did not have any side effect from the heavenly demonic possession, but he could not maintain it for too long. After using it, he would feel extremely hungry and would need to eat a lot. If he continued to practice, what kind of power would he have? He must be slowly approaching the level of a heavenly god. As these thoughts flashed through his mind, he finally had a vague outline of the enlightened master. He was no longer a blind man trying to figure out an elephant. They traveled from morning to night and found a dilapidated temple in the evening. The doors and windows were all gone, but it was much better than sleeping in the wild. A fire was lit in the middle of the room, and the guards sat around it, chatting to kill time. Chief Chu, what kind of martial art are you practicing? You've improved so quickly, a guard from the Imperial House asked. Chu Li smiled. The Infinite Azure Sea. Infinite Azure Sea art. The crowd pondered for a moment before shaking their heads. They had no recollection of it. The guards of the Imperial House had grown up in the Imperial House, and the mental cultivation techniques they practiced were the best. They had never heard of the Infinite Azure Sea. In the High Duke's public house, even in the martial arts world, the Infinite Azure Sea was considered a top-notch martial art. However, in the Imperial House, it was just average. The Imperial House protectors did not know how to cultivate it, and very few knew about it. I think I've seen it before, a guard from the Imperial House said with a smile. I think I've seen this mental cultivation method before when I was choosing martial arts techniques. That doesn't seem too bad, someone beside him said with a smile. Chu Li smiled. A good heart technique is something that suits you. The Infinite Sea of Azure suits me very well. After that, I also cultivated some torso tuning techniques. The art of White Tiger can be considered to complement the Infinite Sea of Azure. Infinite Azure Sea Technique. Lin Yuanshan said, I know this mental cultivation technique. Stacking inner energy, right? Chu Li nodded. No wonder Brother Chu is so powerful. Lin Yuanshan smiled and said, I use the Infinite Azure Sea. I really have to cultivate the sun, cultivating White Tiger portrait. Otherwise, I won't be able to withstand it. Chu Li smiled. Brother Lin is very knowledgeable. Lin Yuanshan smiled and said, I wonder how many stacks Brother Chu can stack. 5 stacks, Chu Li said. 6 stacks is a bit strenuous. I'll get injured after using it. No wonder. Lin Yuanshan sighed. Chu Li suddenly frowned and looked outside the temple. Lin Yuanshan quickly looked over, but did not see anything strange. Chu Li said, "There are masters coming. Everyone be careful." As soon as he finished speaking, 2 black shadows shot into the temple and pounced towards Lin Yuanshan. Chu Li stood in front of Lin Yuanshan and punched with both his fists. Bang! Bang! 2 muffled sounds were heard. The 2 black shadows were blocked and revealed. One of them was tall and the other was short. They looked ordinary, and no one would notice them if they stood in the crowd. Their eyes were glowing as they stared at Lin Yuanshan, who was behind Chu Li. It was as if they had a deep-rooted hatred and were ready to pounce on him at any time. Lin Yuanshan frowned and looked at them. Chu Li said, "Brother Lin, do you recognize them? I've never seen them before. I don't leave the Imperial House very often. I don't have any enemies." Lin Yuanshan shook his head. The 2 of them pounced on them again. The 8 Imperial House protectors around them had already reacted. They stood in front of Chu Li and Lin Yuanshan and pounced on the 2 men in black. Among the 8 Imperial House protectors, there was a Grandmaster and the rest were innate masters. Chu Li and Lin Yuanshan took a few steps back as they watched the 8 of them surround the 2 men. The 2 men's body movement technique was extremely fast, and their cultivation level was high. They were able to handle the 8 of them with ease and still had the upper hand. Grandmasters? Lin Yuanshan frowned. He was in disbelief. I've never offended a Grandmaster before. If they were in the fairies' capital, it would not be unusual to see a Grandmaster, especially in the Imperial residence or the Imperial House. It would be unusual to see a Grandmaster in the wilderness. The person who could command a Grandmaster was not an ordinary person. "Who are you?" Chu Li asked. The 2 of them curled their lips and looked at him mockingly. Chu Li was an extremely intelligent person. Why would he ask such a stupid question? Who would answer him? Chu Li asked again, "What do you want?" The 2 of them smiled coldly. Chu Li shook his head and looked at Lin Yuanshan. "Brother Lin, they're here for you. I didn't offend anyone, did I?" Lin Yuanshan was confused. Chu Li said, "They want to know the secrets of the Imperial House because of your identity." "Then who are they?" Lin Yuanshan frowned. Chu Li smiled. "They want to know the secrets of the Imperial House. I guess they're from the Holy Church of Light?" The faces of the 2 men in black changed. They realized that Chu Li's reputation was well-deserved. They were filled with murderous intent. Their bodies suddenly changed and emitted a mountainous and ocean-like aura. It was as if they had changed into 2 different people, from rabbits to tigers. Chu Li laughed. He grabbed Lin Yuanshan and dashed out of the temple. The 2 of them were stunned and chased after him. They were too lazy to look at the Imperial House protectors, as they were worthless. They only wanted to capture Lin Yuanshan, who was taken away. The Imperial House protectors chased after them. In just a short while, the 2 of them had disappeared. Chu Li carried Lin Yuanshan and flew away. The 2 men in black were getting closer. Lin Yuanshan said, "Brother Chu, you should leave first." Chu Li laughed. "Brother Lin, you're thinking too much." He sped up and increased the distance between him and the 2 men in black. Lin Yuanshan said, "They're too powerful. I'm afraid you're no match for them. They won't be able to catch up to us. These people from the Holy Church of Light are interesting. They want to know the secrets of the Imperial House. Are they going to kill the Emperor?" Chu Li smiled. "That's impossible. The Emperor is an enlightened master. They're just digging their own graves." Lin Yuanshan shook his head. "That's strange," Chu Li said. Chapter 478. Lin Yuanshan was shocked. Chu Li smiled. "They won't be able to catch up." Lin Yuanshan looked at the 2 men in black who were getting closer and was secretly worried. Chu Li said, "I'm curious. Why are they looking for you, Brother Lin?" "Secrets of the Imperial House." Lin Yuanshan frowned. "What secrets are there in the Imperial House?" "There must be a reason," Chu Li said. "Unfortunately, they're only here to capture someone. We don't know anything." He had always wondered why the Holy Church of Light went to the fairies' capital. It did not seem like they were here to assassinate. It seemed like their target was the Imperial House. Are they really from the Holy Church of Light? Lin Yuanshan asked. The Holy Church of Light shouldn't be in the Ji dynasty. The Holy Church of Light is different from before. I think the bishop has changed. It's going to be an eventful time. Why don't we return to the fairies' capital first? Chu Li said. What about the protectors? Just send them a message. That would be for the best, Lin Yuanshan said. Since he was wanted by the Holy Church of Light, he was the source of trouble. It would be better for the protectors to leave first. Chu Li sped up, and the distance between them lengthened. The two men in black looked gloomy, and their eyes were filled with anger. They understood that Chu Li was toying with them. He was faster than the two of them with Lin Yuanshan, but he did not escape in one go. He wanted to play a trick on them. How despicable! They had already activated their secret skills, but they still could not catch up to Chu Li. There was no hope. As they thought about this, they turned around and walked back. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. They are not stupid, Lin Yuanshan said. Are they going back to deal with the protectors? Chu Li nodded. They are courting death. I can only fulfill their wish. He sped up and caught up with the two men in black in the blink of an eye. His right hand flashed. TSS. A flash of lightning flashed. The tall and skinny man in black moved sideways to avoid the blade, but Chu Li's other blade came. The tall and skinny man in black continued to dodge. Chu Li closed the distance between them and swung his hand again. The tall and skinny man in black lowered his head and almost fell to the ground to avoid the blade. Chu Li shook his head and chased after him. He was only 10 steps away now. He swung his arm again, and a bolt of lightning flashed in the air. Chi! The flying dagger seemed to cut through cloth as it sped up. The other short man in black sensed that something was wrong. He was alarmed, but he didn't have time to react. The flying knife pierced through his chest, sending a spray of blood into the pine tree behind him. Old Jing! The lanky black-clothed man shouted. Chu Li's flying blade came again. The tall and skinny man in black's eyes were bright. His body suddenly shrank and became as tall as his companion. In a flash, he appeared in front of Chu Li. His fist was already in front of Chu Li's chest. It was so fast that Chu Li's eyes could not follow it. Chu Li placed his right palm in front of his chest. Bang! He and Lin Yuanshan flew more than 10 meters away. Bang! The man in black was hot on his heels, throwing punch after punch. Chu Li did not even have the strength to fight back, and could only defend himself. Lin Yuanshan was frightened by the fist that was so close to him. He couldn't see the man's movements clearly, but he felt like he was in a raging sea, like a small boat that could capsize at any time and lose his life. After throwing more than 20 punches, the man in black forced Chu Li and Lin Yuanshan to move more than 100 meters away. Chu Li knew what he was thinking. After receiving another punch, he suddenly disappeared in front of the man in black and appeared behind another man who was healing himself. Chu Li hit him with his palm. Bang! The man in black who was hit by the flying knife flew up and spat out a mouthful of blood. Chu Li laughed and fluttered away with Lin Yuanshan. Lin Yuanshan saw that the man in black did not chase after them and let out a long sigh of relief. We finally got rid of them. Aren't they not afraid of death? Chu Li smiled. They're different from humans. Some are not afraid of death, but they don't want to die. Good, that's good. As long as they don't want to die. Lin Yuanshan smiled. The two fluttered away at lightning speed. In a short while, they met the Imperial House protectors. Hence, they decided not to rest anymore and hurried on their journey in the night. There were only 2 of them. If another 2 came, they would really die. On the evening of the second day, the exhausted group finally arrived at the fairies' capital. Outside the fairies' capital, Chu Li bade farewell to them. He did not want to return to the fairies' capital yet. He wanted to stay at the High Duke's public house for a while. Brother Chu, if there's anything you need, you can send someone to the palace, Lin Yuanshan said reluctantly. If I can help, I will. Chu Li smiled. All right, if there's anything, I'll definitely ask for your help, Brother Lin. You're not allowed to treat me like an outsider, Lin Yuanshan said. Otherwise, I'll be really unhappy. He was indebted to Chu Li for saving his life. If Chu Li had not escorted him this time, he would have lost his life. The Imperial House protectors were unreliable, and they could not even protect themselves. Moreover, Chu Li's temperament was compatible with his, and they could be said to be close friends. Chu Li said, "All right then, I won't treat you like an outsider. However, Brother Lin, if you need anything, you can send me a letter either to the Secret Guardians Hall or the Imperial Residence of Kingen. I'll always be somewhere. I'll probably stay in High Duke's public house for more than 10 days before returning." "I will definitely trouble you with something, Brother Chu." Lin Yuanshan smiled. Chu Li asked, "Can Brother Lin leave the palace normally?" Lin Yuanshan shook his head. "I can't leave the palace. That's a pity. The next time I leave the palace, we'll meet again." Chu Li smiled. "Let's drink to our heart's content." "All right." Lin Yuanshan smiled. Chu Li closed fists, saluted, turned around, and glided away. Lin Yuanshan sent the horse to the imperial residence of King Yun, and he immediately used his light body technique to return. He entered the forest, and the next moment, he appeared on the Symphony Island of the High Duke's public house. The sunset shone on the gazebo, and Xiao Shi was playing the guzheng in the gazebo. As soon as he appeared, the sound of the guzheng stopped. She was dressed in white, and her beautiful face was like white jade. "Let's go to the Titanium Temple." Chu Li raised his eyebrows. "You miss Suan?" "Yes." Xiao Shi nodded lightly. "I wonder how the little guy is doing." "Let's go," Chu Li said. The two of them flashed a few times and appeared outside the Titanium Temple. The sunset dyed the dilapidated Titanium Temple golden. Under the observation of Chu Li's omniscient mirror, the golden light of the pagoda enveloped the Titanium Temple, and he could not peek inside. This golden light could not be seen by outsiders, and it looked like a dilapidated temple. He went forward and knocked on the door. After a long time, a squeak was heard, and an old monk opened the door. "We saw the two of them," he sighed. "Almsgivers, you're back again?" Chu Li smiled. "Revered sir, we would like to meet Su, and please wait." The old monk closed the door again. It was obvious that he had no intention of letting the two of them into the temple. Xiao Shi stared at him fiercely. "Turning your back on us. Stupid monks are all bad people." Chu Li smiled. "Buddhists pay particular attention to karma. Since the karma is over, they won't let you into the temple. They're heartless." After a while, the old monk slowly walked out. Suan is currently cultivating in isolation. He can't meet any guests. Chu Li frowned. "Suan has started cultivating?" "Yes, he has started cultivating," the old monk slowly said. "This child's affinity with Buddhism is deep, and he will become a Buddha. It's not good to disturb his mortal heart." Xiao Shi hurriedly said, "Can't he just meet him?" The old monk shook his head. Xiao Shi handed over the bag in her hand. "Then please give this to Suan, revered sir." Chapter 479. Back at the island of Symphony, Chu Li saw that Xiao Shi was unhappy. He smiled. "Why don't we go to the 100,000 Hills?" Going to the 100,000 Hills to relax was the most effective for Xiao Shi. He had used it many times. After a trip, even if he was chased and had to escape, Xiao Shi would still be in a good mood. 100,000 Hills? Xiao Shi hesitated. "Aren't you afraid of being chased by the spirit cranes?" Chu Li did not expose her. He smiled. "The crane eggs should be hatching by now." "All right, let's go take a look." Xiao Shi nodded unwillingly. Both of them flashed and appeared at the spirit crane's peak of the 100,000 Hills. Chu Li's body tensed up the moment he appeared, ready to escape. The two cranes were too powerful. They sensed him the moment he appeared and chased him like lightning. He had no power to resist. He could only escape. This time, he was ready to compete with the two spirit cranes to see if his heavenly demonic ability could stop the spirit cranes. Chu Li's omniscient mirror shrouded his surroundings. He was shocked. The two spirit cranes should have chased him earlier. The two crane eggs had disappeared, replaced by two baby cranes the size of a chick. One stood under the tree, high-spirited, overflowing with spiritual energy. Its aura was shocking. It pecked the ground restlessly. The other one laid on the ground, not moving at all. It was dim and without light, its vitality almost completely severed. Its aura was weak and on the verge of death. Chu frowned. He always thought that the spirit cranes were blessed by heaven and earth. Their physique was strong. They were born to be better than humans. He did not expect this baby crane to be born with a deficiency. It was dying. Chu shook his head. It was a pity. The two spirit cranes stared at the dying baby crane. Chu could feel their pain, sorrow, despair, and helplessness. The spirit cranes were smarter than humans. They could not be treated like animals. One of the spirit cranes flew into the sky, turned into a white light, and disappeared into the horizon. "Why is it so quiet today?" Seosha lowered her voice. Chu shook his head and sighed. "One of the baby cranes is dying." "Dying?" Seosha frowned. "Has a natural enemy." Chu said, "Born with a deficiency." Seosha frowned. "Spirit beasts are like humans. Many die at birth." "What a pity." Chu sighed. "What a pity. He could save the little crane." Even if the spirit crane tried to stop him, he could use his god's limbs to appear in front of the little crane and snatch it away. However, this would infuriate the two spirit cranes. In a fit of rage, they would come out of the 100,000 mountains to hunt him down. That would be a great sin, and he didn't know how many people would die. The remaining spirit crane used its long beak to touch the little crane gently. The little crane laid on the ground motionlessly. Only its tummy rose and fell gently. It stared at the spirit crane with its eyes. Even though it had just been born, its eyes were filled with spirit energy, as though it understood life and death and was reluctant to part with the world and its parents. The other crane chirped softly at the side, trying to touch the motionless crane from time to time. Seosha asked softly, "How is it?" Chu shook his head. "I'm afraid he can't be saved." "Can't you do anything?" "They won't let me touch it." Chu shook his head and sighed. "Life and death are decreed by fate. It's up to its luck. Can you stand it?" Shaosha rolled her eyes at him. Chu smiled bitterly. No matter what, he had to save him, but he needed to wait for the right time. If the time was not right, it would only make things worse. An hour later, with a soft chirp, the other spirit crane fell from the sky. It staggered and almost fell. Its feathers were messy and stained with blood. Its spirit was dim, and it was obvious that it was heavily injured. Its vitality was like a candle in the wind, about to be extinguished at any time. It held a piece of black meat in its long beak. It was the size of a fist and sent it to the little crane. The little crane struggled to lift its long beak, but did not have the strength to eat the meat. The spirit crane chirped softly as though it was urging it to eat it. The little crane tried its best to open its beak, but it really did not have the strength to eat the meat. The two spirit cranes were chirping softly. They were extremely anxious. The other little crane curiously went over and opened its beak, wanting to eat it, but it was blocked by the other spirit crane. It was so anxious that it kept chirping. The little crane that was lying on the ground tried its best to lift its beak, but in the end, it fell back down. Its breath was even weaker, and it could die at any time. The injured spirit crane pecked a small piece of meat and sent it to the little crane's beak. The little crane did not have the strength to open its beak. Its bright eyes kept staring at the two spirit cranes. Its tummy rose and fell slightly, but it could not make any sound. Chu could clearly feel the sorrow of the two spirit cranes. Suddenly, he flashed and appeared 200 meters away from the two cranes. The two spirit cranes turned to look at them, but ignored them. Their attention was completely focused on the little crane. Activating the scripture of life and death, Chu divided the surrounding spiritual energy into two. One was sent to the severely injured spirit crane, and the other was sent to the little crane to restore its vitality. The spirit crane was energized, and it turned to look at Chu. It was smarter than humans. It immediately knew that it was Chu's doing. It felt that its injuries were slowly recovering. The situation suddenly turned for the better, and the shadow of death was slowly fading. The spirit in the little crane's eyes grew brighter, and it slowly recovered some of its strength. It opened its beak and swallowed the piece of meat. The other spirit crane chirped softly in dissatisfaction. The injured spirit crane chirped softly too. The other spirit crane turned to look at Chu Li and Co. Sure. The spiritual energy from all directions was pure and abundant. It was not inferior to the aura of the Glorieswell tree. The effect was excellent. In less than 10 minutes, under the nourishment of the abundant spiritual energy, the injured spirit crane had recovered by more than half. Although the little crane was slightly weaker, it already had the strength to eat the meat. It swallowed all the meat brought by the injured spirit crane. Chu Li could see that after the black meat entered its stomach, it quickly turned into a strong vitality. It was transforming the little crane's body, and it was quickly becoming stronger. This piece of meat was obviously not an ordinary item. It was unknown what it came from. Co. Sure could also see that the two cranes were improving. After 2 hours, the scripture of life and death stopped circulating. The two cranes were full of energy. The little crane that had been lying on the ground suddenly stood up. It staggered forward and slowly came to Chu Li. Chu Li smiled and extended his hand. The little crane extended its beak and rubbed against his hand, showing its affection. It knew who saved it. It liked the aura on Chu Li's body. Co. Sure revealed a smile. You really saved it? Chu Li said. It was saved by the old crane. The piece of meat it brought was magical. It saved the little crane. Co. Sure sighed. It risked being injured to get it. Just like a human, it disregarded life and death for its child. Chu Li nodded, much stronger than a human. The other little crane wobbled over and looked at Chu Li and Co. Sure curiously. Chu Li stared at the two spirit cranes. They were curiously looking at Chu Li as if it was their first time seeing them. Chu Li smiled. He did not feel any killing intent. Chu Li and Co. Sure suddenly flashed and disappeared. The two of them appeared on Symphony Island. Co. Sure sat down. This is a good chance to get close to the spirit cranes. Are you giving it up just like that? Chu Li shook his head. They are smart. It's enough. Anyway, we saved them. Co. Sure said. They won't bite the hand that feeds them, right? They won't. Chu Li smiled. Co. Sure sat in the pagoda and said excitedly, this time they won't chase after us. We can harvest more spirit medicine. The spirit crane's peak must have a lot of treasures. Chu Li sat in front of her and pondered. Co. Sure could not suppress her excitement. She pushed his arm. What spirit medicine are you going to get? Chapter 480. Planting herbs? Co. Sure's eyes turned and smiled. Using the spirit crane's peak as a herb garden? Chu Li said, the soil quality of the spirit crane's peak is better than the spirit soil. The spiritual energy of the spirit crane's peak was comparable to the Glorieswell tree. It was obvious how powerful the soil quality was. Cultivated spirit soil was far from it. The spirit soil they used now was imitated from the mountain Shawan soil. However, it was an imitation after all. It was far from the original soil quality of the mountain Shawan. Moreover, the growth of the herbs was affected by the surrounding environment. Just like the ginseng in the future, no matter how good the soil quality was, without the forest environment, the ginseng would not be good enough. It was the same for the herbs. Many of the herbs could barely grow in the spirit soil. Once they grew, their medicinal effects would be much weaker. If the spirit crane's peak was used as a herb garden, the herbs that grew would be incomparable to the man-made herb garden. The herbs grown in the spirit crane's peak must have amazing effects. Co. Sure understood this too. She stared at him with her chin propped up. Her deep eyes were shining. You actually came up with such an idea. You're really smart. Chu Li smiled. Now I have to think about what to plant and get some seeds. Can you tame the spirit cranes and make them your mounts? With your light body technique, you won't be afraid even if you fall from the sky. Chu Li shook his head. The spirit cranes are smart and proud. It's good enough that they don't treat us as mounts. In this world, humans were not the masters. The spirit beasts were the spirits of the world. They looked at humans like how humans looked at monkeys. Co. Sure said, with your slyness, I believe you can do it. There's really no need. Chu Li shook his head. Although they're fast, they're not as fast as me. Plus, they can't leave the mountain Shirwan. The feeling in the sky is different. Seoshur said. Chuli smiled and did not say anything. Seoshur rolled her eyes. I'll try. All right, Chuli said, but don't rush it. Take it slow, one step at a time. Feelings need to be cultivated. You don't find it troublesome. Seoshur shook her head and smiled. Chuli said, you can't treat them like beasts. They're smart and sensitive. If you don't change your mind, it'll be hard to get along with them. I know, Seoshur scoffed. I'll treat them like important people. Chuli smiled. When do you plan to return to the imperial residence? We'll talk about it later, Seoshur frowned. I don't want to go back. Chuli said, all right, there's no rush. As the two of them were talking, Shue floated over on a small boat. Chuli could tell from her expression that it was not good news. Xueling was dressed in a snow-white gown. She curtsied and said, Master, Lady Xiao, there are 2 secret guardians from the imperial house looking for you. Chuli sighed. I really can't stay idle. Bring her to the island. Yes, Xueling replied and left. Xiaoshur asked, what's the matter with the secret guardians' hall? They're probably urging me to look for the disciples of the Holy Church of Light. Chuli shook his head. There's nothing for me to shirk this time. I'll have to look for them properly. This is a matter of life and death. Xiaoshur frowned and said, can't we delay it? I've already planned to hold it after Master Xiao Taiying's wedding. Chuli said, I can't delay it any longer, or else the secret guardians' hall will be anxious. All right then, Xiaoshur said, just be careful. Chuli nodded. We don't have any disciples of the Holy Church of Light in our residence, but be careful of assassinations. Don't go out if you can avoid it. Okay, Xiaoshur nodded. Chuli disappeared in a flash and appeared on his own island. A moment later, Xueling brought Dong Qifei and Yang Zongwen to the guest hall on the island. Captain, the two of them closed fists saluted after entering the hall. Chuli pointed at the armchair. Xueling served 3 cups of tea and left. After the two of them sat down, they took a sip of tea. Dong Qifei said impatiently, Captain, the governor of the town of Clouds has gone missing. The commander wants us to investigate the reason. The governor has gone missing? Chuli frowned. When did this happen? 3 days ago, Dong Qifei said. We rushed here on horseback without delay. The governor of the town of Clouds has gone missing for 2 days without any reason. The governor of the town of Clouds has been suppressing the news. It's the information that we, the secret guardians' hall, found out. Yang Zongwen said, the commander wants us to see if we can find him. If we can't, we'll find out the reason. Chuli nodded slowly. The town of Clouds. I'll go and investigate. This is the secret order. Yang Zongwen took out a small box and presented it to Chuli with both hands. Chuli took it and opened the sealed box. There was a booklet inside, just like what the two of them said. The booklet was stamped with Fu Mingshan's seal. You want to go with me? Of course. It's useless for you to go. I'll do it myself, Chuli said. Captain. Dong Qifei widened his eyes in dissatisfaction. Yang Zongwen also looked at him indignantly. Chuli said, it's been 4 days, right? By the time you get there, it'll be another day. It'll be too late. I'll use my light body technique. You can walk slowly behind me. Yang Zongwen said, we can run errands or do odd jobs. Have you checked on the Imperial Inspector's background? Chuli said, what's his background like? Yang Zongwen quickly said, the Imperial Inspector's surname is Huing Zhao. He comes from a prestigious family. His father is an editor in the Clear Light Pavilion. He has compiled the books in the Inner Treasury. He's a scholarly family. Imperial Inspector who has a good reputation as an official. He's upright and virtuous. He's offended many of his colleagues. Dong Qifei quickly said, could it be the mayor's doing? Could it be that the mayor is corrupt, an Imperial Inspector who found out about it and killed him to silence him? Wouldn't that expose himself? Yang Zongwen shook his head. Mayor wouldn't be so impulsive. That might not be the case. Dong Qifei said, he could do anything when he's angry. If he killed someone on impulse, it'd be too late for regrets. He could only cover it up as a missing person. I'm guessing that it's most likely the mayor's doing. If not, why would he suppress the news? It could be someone else Yang Zongwen said. Moreover, there's no need to use such drastic measures in an official fight. What if the mayor betrays the country? Dong Qifei said. Yang Zongwen laughed. He's already the mayor. What's there to betray? Elder Dong, you have to be more reliable. Anyway, I think there's something wrong with the mayor. Dong Qifei scoffed and turned to look at Chu Li. Captain, I've already checked on the mayor. His surname is Guo Zixing. He's under Prince Cheng. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Dong Qifei said, if he doesn't get along with the captain, it's very likely that he's deliberately causing trouble. I'm afraid that Prince Cheng doesn't even care about an imperial inspector. He's deliberately finding trouble with the captain, isn't it? Well, Yang Zongwen pondered. We cannot be too careful. With Prince Cheng's personality, he's definitely capable of doing such things. Chu Li waved his hand. I'll go take a look and we'll know. Captain, how about we go in the open and one in the dark? Yang Zongwen said, the captain is in the open. We'll go over secretly to provide support. If there's any problem, we'll have a way to defend ourselves. That's right, that's right. Dong Qifei quickly nodded. Chu Li saw that they were so eager. He understood that they wanted to gain merit. He thought for a while. That's good too. You guys go over secretly. The secret guardians' hall had eyes everywhere. It would be more convenient with them. Then let's go now, Chu Li said. Chapter 481. 100 Flower Tower in town of Cloud. Chu Li and Han Fei sat opposite each other at a table by the window on the 3rd floor. Han Fei was still dressed in a blue shirt and looked elegant. He picked up a silver cup and took a sip. I've asked around, Imperial Inspector, who has indeed been missing for 3 days. Chu Li also picked up a cup and took a sip. What else? It seems like he suddenly disappeared from his home. No one saw clearly who took him away. They only know that the next morning, the Imperial Inspector's wife realized that there was no one beside her. She was sleeping like a log and did not hear any movement. Was it Mayor Guo who did it? I don't think so. Han Fei frowned and said, everyone in Town of Clouds knows that Mayor Guo and Imperial Inspector, who are not on good terms. The two of them fight all day long. Mayor Guo advocates law above all, and no one can go against it. Imperial Inspector, who advocates law above all and is lenient. Lenient? Chu Li smiled. I heard that he is a righteous person. He is righteous to his colleagues, but he is lenient to the people under him. Han Fei pouted and said, I don't like this guy, saying that he loves the people like his own children. I think he's just asking for a favor. Asking for favor. Chu Li nodded. Han Fei said, logically speaking, no one will kill such a person. At least I know that people in the martial arts world won't touch him. As for Mayor Guo, it's unlikely. After all, the conflict between the two is public. If something happens, he will be the first suspect. What about a spur of the moment? Then it's just a fight. Han Fei shook his head and said, Mayor Guo's backing is strong. He's not afraid of Imperial Inspector Hu. There's no need to kill him. Chu Li said, seems like it's a mess. I invited Mayor Guo over. Han Fei smiled and said, you'll know once you ask. Seems like the Jiangchuan Alliance has a close relationship with Mayor Guo. Chu Li frowned. Han Fei smiled and said, Brother Chu, what are you thinking? I won't collude with the authorities. It's just a normal social interaction. Although Mayor Guo is a strict person, he follows the rules. Unlike Imperial Inspector, who seems to be lenient but doesn't follow the rules. Chu Li frowned and looked at him. Brother Luo, this can't be your doing, right? What are you talking about? Han Fei waved his hand and laughed. I understand what I can and can't do, and I won't make things difficult for you, Brother Chu. That's good. Chu Li nodded and said, the disappearance of the Imperial Inspector is not a small matter, but Mayor Guo did not report it. No matter what, it's a dereliction of duty. Mayor Guo, you must have your reasons, Han Fei said with a smile. Chu Li looked at him and shook his head helplessly. The Jiangchuan Alliance's influence had expanded to the White Cloud City. Han Fei wanted to carry out drastic reforms and integrate all the sects and businesses. He needed the support of the government, so it was inevitable that he had a good relationship with Mayor Guo. Han Fei was extremely intelligent and would not lose his sense of propriety. Chu Li was very relieved. The sound of footsteps could be heard as a middle-aged man in purple slowly walked up the stairs. He glanced at the third floor, his long face solemn and dignified. His figure was as straight as a spear. As he walked, every step he took seemed to be very careful, as if he was walking on thin ice. His steps were slow and calm, as if he was walking according to a certain rhythm, giving off a sense of power. Chu Li sized up the middle-aged man. Han Fei stood up, closed fist saluted and smiled. "Mayor Gua, please come in." The middle-aged man in purple nodded with a solemn face and closed fist saluted. When he came closer, he looked at Chu Li. Han Fei smiled. "Mayor Gua, this is Chu Li, Brother Chu. I'm sure Mayor Gua has heard of Brother Chu's name." Chu Li closed fist saluted and smiled. "Greetings, Mayor Gua." "Oh, Chief Chu, nice to meet you." Gua Zixing closed fist saluted. His face was still solemn. "Chief Chu is a very busy man. Why do you have the time to come to the White Cloud City?" Chu Li smiled. "I'm sure Mayor Gua understands." Gua Zixing frowned and said, "What do you mean?" "It's about Imperial Inspector who—" Chu Li smiled and looked at him. "Mayor Gua, are you still going to play dumb?" Gua Zixing sneered. As expected of the High Duke's public house. The relationship between the High Duke's public house and the mayor was not harmonious. Both of them restricted each other. Chu Li came to the White Cloud City openly and wanted to pursue the matter of Imperial Inspector who. How could Gua Zixing give him face? Even if Chu Li was the famous chief of the Glorious Courtyard, he was not afraid. Chu Li said, "Mayor Gua, let's sit down and talk." Gua Zixing sat down, picked up the silver cup, and drank it in one gulp. Chu Li said, "The matter of Imperial Inspector whose disappearance can't be suppressed anymore. The fairy's capital already knows." Gua Zixing frowned and did not say a word. It seemed that nothing could be hidden in the city. His effort was wasted. Chu Li said, "Everyone suspects that it was done by Mayor Gua." "Humph." Gua Zixing sneered. Chu Li smiled. "I know that Mayor Gua suppressed the news for Imperial Inspector whose sake. Too bad you couldn't suppress it. Someone is deliberately spreading the news." Han Fei said. Gua Zixing frowned and looked at Han Fei. "This news is already spread yesterday," Han Fei said. "I'm just afraid that Imperial Inspector who is now in danger." Gua Zixing's face was gloomy. "Who did it?" Han Fei shook his head. "It's mysterious. There hasn't been any clues." "If it's not Mayor Gua, then I'm relieved," Chu Li said. "But Mayor Gua, please be careful. Come if you have the guts." Gua Zixing said coldly. "What do I have to be afraid of?" Chu Li said, "I didn't expect Mayor Gua to be a soldier." Gua Zixing scoffed. "These rascals don't dare to come openly. I guess Imperial Inspector who is still alive. It depends on the High Duke's public house." The most powerful force in the town of Clouds was the High Duke's public house. Even if the High Duke's public house did not have anyone in the city on the surface, they had a lot of spies in the dark. They could only rely on the High Duke's public house to save Imperial Inspector, who others could not be relied on. Even the newly emerged Jiangchuan Alliance, in terms of the depth of their spies, they were still inferior to the High Duke's public house. After all, the High Duke's public house had hundreds of years of accumulation. Their roots were already deeply rooted. Many spies would never think of it. Chu Li shook his head. "Imperial Inspector, who is dead." The spies of the High Duke's public house did not have any news, so he used Han Fei's Jiangchuan Alliance, plus Gua Zixing's. All three had no news. It was a little strange. He had already used the all-seeing heaven and earth skill. He did not sense Imperial Inspector who. He was already dead. The death of a city's Imperial Inspector. This was definitely not a small case. If he could not investigate it clearly, he would not be able to explain to the Secret Guardians Hall. Moreover, this happened under the rule of the public house. If they could not solve the case and catch the murderer, the High Duke's public house's prestige would be gone. Many of the mayors and Imperial Inspectors would be in danger. Their hearts would be unsettled. Han Fei said, "Mayor Gua, did Imperial Inspector who offend anyone recently?" "Offended anyone?" Gua Zixing thought for a while, then shook his head. "It's been very peaceful recently. Because of the eldest master's wedding, everyone is very quiet. With the three of us together, we still can't find the murderer?" Han Fei said in disbelief. Who exactly is it to be so omnipotent? Chu Li frowned and did not say a word. This was the troublesome part of martial arts masters. Chapter 482. Guo Zixing said, Chief Chu, are you sure that Imperial Inspector Hu is dead? Yes, he is indeed dead. Chu Li sighed. It's just that I can't find his corpse yet. I'll think of another way. How many years has it been since something like this happened? Guo Zixing clenched his teeth and said slowly, How dare he kill an Imperial Inspector? Chu Li sighed. In a world where martial arts were flourishing, the authority of the Imperial Court was not that strong. Just like an Imperial Inspector of a city, it was originally a high position and power. To the commoners who did not know martial arts, it was out of their reach, and one word could decide their life and death. However, to the masters of the martial arts world, they could kill him in anger. Han Fei said, It must be a top-notch master. Masters of this level would not usually make a move, or seek revenge, or have a conflict of interest. Guo Zixing shook his head. As an official of the Imperial Court, how can I not offend someone? Chu Li picked up the silver cup and drank it in one gulp. Leave it to me. We can only rely on the High Duke's public house. Han Fei sighed. We still need to rely on the High Duke's public house during crucial times. Although the Jiangchuan alliance was strong, it was far from the High Duke's public house's background. It needed hundreds of years to run, and he might not live until then. Chu Li said, That's how it should be. He ate with Han Fei and Guo Zixing and returned to Han Fei's residence. He sat on the bed in the bedroom and took out a strand of hair from his chest and looked at it. This was Imperial Inspector Hu's hair. Through sensing, it was nothing. The all-seeing divine power could sense blood essence, but once a person died, it could not be sensed. Chu Li frowned and thought for a while. Then he had a flash of inspiration. The heavenly demonic orb slowly floated to his precordium. Suddenly, the blood in his body turned into a long river, bringing endless power to every part of his body. Chu Li suppressed his heroic spirit and impulse to fight the heavens and the earth. He suppressed his surging thoughts and began to perform the all-seeing divine power. Under the all-seeing divine power, his mind traveled to the horizon, and his senses became sharper and more agile. He began to sense according to the strand of hair in his hand. His figure disappeared in a flash, and soon appeared halfway up a mountain in a dense forest. He looked down at the graveyard under his feet. Through the omniscient mirror, he saw a corpse lying in the soil. Pressing his palms against the ground, an invisible force surged into his body. Punk! A muffled sound rang out, and the earth exploded. A corpse slowly rose up, as if it was being held up by two hands. It was wearing undergarments, and its green face was covered in specks of blood. Chu Li was cold as ice. He sized up the corpse without any sadness or joy. It should be Imperial Inspector Hu's. Looking at his complexion, he must have suffered from a technique that separated his tendons and dislocated his bones, causing his blood and qi to flow in the opposite direction. He must have died in incomparable pain. Seeing that his corpse was not damaged, it was obvious that it was not a vendetta. It was more like an interrogation. They wanted to get something out of Imperial Inspector Hu. His gaze was like lightning as he looked at every inch of Imperial Inspector Hu's body. He wanted to find some clues, and it would be best if he could find something that was left behind. He suddenly pulled Imperial Inspector Hu's hand away. A piece of cloth came into his sight. Holding this piece of cloth, he once again used the all-seeing heaven and earth divine art. Normally, it would be very difficult for the all-seeing heaven and earth divine ability to find people through the cloth. At this moment, it was as if he had the help of God, and his senses were extremely sharp. He disappeared in a flash and appeared in the courtyard of a house in White Cloud City. A man was sitting cross-legged on the bed, cultivating. He opened his eyes abruptly and noticed Chu Li's appearance. Chu Li appeared in front of him in a flash. This was a short and skinny middle-aged man. He had a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks. He had a wretched look. He did not look like a good person, nor did he look like a top-notch master. He threw a punch at Chu Li. There was a faint whistling sound, It was as if a sword was stabbing at him. Chuli did not dodge. He rushed straight at him. Bam! Chuli was hit. He immediately punched the short middle-aged man. Chuli's body movement technique was too fast. The short middle-aged man did not expect Chuli to not dodge. He could not dodge in time. He took a solid punch from Chuli. Chuli's footsteps paused. He shot at him again and landed another solid punch. Bam! The short middle-aged man was embedded into the wall. He also landed a punch on Chuli. Chuli did not care about his fist force. He took 2 steps forward and sealed his acupuncture point. He felt a faint pain in his chest. It was as if 2 swords had pierced his chest. This short middle-aged man's fist technique was like a sword technique. His fist force was strange like a sword. It was unusually swift and fierce. It was unfortunate that he met Chuli, who was filled with rage. He threw the short middle-aged man on the bed. He slowly said, "You killed Imperial Inspector who?" The short middle-aged man looked at him coldly. He closed his eyes. Chuli removed the heavenly demonic orb. Hunger struck him. He did not care. He directly hit the short middle-aged man's dantian with his palm. "You?" The short middle-aged man stared at him viciously. His face was full of unwillingness. He could have activated his secret skill, but this guy's movements were too fierce and fast. He did not even have time to activate it before he was subdued. It was really useless. This time, his martial arts was crippled. There was no way he could escape today. He was just waiting for death. Chuli calmly said, "Why did you kill Imperial Inspector who? What is your identity? What do you want to ask Imperial Inspector who? Do you have any companions in the town of Clouds? Do you have any companions in the fairies' capital? Since Imperial Inspector who doesn't know anything, why not let him live? All right, since you think so and do not care about human life, then I can only learn from you this once. I will send you to the ultimate land of bliss." The short middle-aged man closed his eyes. He did not say a word. Chuli asked one question after another. It was as if the other party was answering him. He saw the answer in the other party's mind. His face was getting uglier. Chuli suddenly pressed his palm on his chest. The short middle-aged man suddenly widened his eyes. He then let out a sarcastic sneer. He slowly stopped breathing. Chuli picked him up and disappeared in a flash. He went to the side of Imperial Inspector whose corpse. He threw it into the original pit. He disappeared again and appeared in Guo Zixing's residence. He told Guo Zixing about the incident. Once Guo Zixing heard that Imperial Inspector whose corpse was found, he immediately sent someone to receive him. Chuli returned to Han Fei's residence. Han Fei was waiting for him in the courtyard. The lanterns in the courtyard lit up as if it was daytime. "Brother Han, get someone to serve the dishes. I'm hungry." Chuli sat opposite him. Han Fei saw that he did not look good. He waved his hand and ordered the maid to pour a glass of wine for him. "What happened?" "Imperial Inspector who was found," Chuli said in a low voice. "Is he dead or alive?" Han Fei quickly asked. "He's dead," Chuli sighed. Han Fei also sighed. He picked up the silver glass and drank it in one gulp. "Everyone has their own fate. No one can stop it." "Who did it?" "The Holy Church of Light," Chuli said coldly. "How did Imperial Inspector who get involved with the Holy Church of Light? Isn't the Holy Church of Light from the Li dynasty? Why did they come here to find trouble with Imperial Inspector who? Could it be that Imperial Inspector who is hiding his identity?" Chuli shook his head. "This incident involves a big secret. It's better if you don't know, Brother Han." "What secret?" Han Fei was extremely curious. Chuli said, "I'll tell you next time. Help me with something. Secretly spread a piece of news." "What news?" "You're not telling me the secret. You're only asking me to do something?" Han Fei said. Chuli shook his head. "Say that the Green Hill killed Imperial Inspector who? The Green Hill? You want to harm the Green Hill to avenge the previous incident, right?" Han Fei smiled. Chuli shook his head. "It's just incidentally. The Imperial Court won't pursue the Green Hill." "No problem. Leave it to me." Han Fei nodded. "What secret is it?" "It's the Holy Church of Light. It's better if you don't know." Chuli sighed. "It's better if you hide too. Don't get entangled by them." "Then I'll go with you," Han Fei said. "I'm almost done here. I'll go to Fairy's capital to play." Chapter 483. In the main hall of Iron Eagle Island. In the evening, the main hall was dyed red by the setting sun. Chu Li, Co Tying, and Co Baiha sat together and talked. Is he really dead? Co Tying's handsome face was gloomy. He said coldly, How dare they? Sigh, it's a pity. Chu Li shook his head. Imperial Inspector who had a great reputation, he was loved by the people. Co Baiha said, Imperial Inspector whose death had a huge impact on our public house. If we don't handle it well, I'm afraid the people will be disgusted. They might even distrust the public house. Exactly. I've already sent people to spread the news. It was done by the Green Hill. Chu Li nodded. Is it really the Green Hill? Co Tying's face was gloomy. Chu Li shook his head. It's the Holy Church of Light. The Holy Church of Light? Co Tying frowned. It's them again. They are a group of people who are not afraid of death. We can't provoke them now. It's better not to. If someone really spread the news, we'll be in a difficult situation. Chu Li sighed. Co Baiha quickly nodded. Yes, if someone spread the news, should the public house deal with the Holy Church of Light or not? If we deal with them, we're not strong enough. If we don't deal with them, we'll be looked down upon by the people and the sects in the martial arts world. Chief Chu Li, this is a good move, preemptive strike. Chu Li said helplessly, There's no other way. Then are we really going to take care of the Green Hill? Co Tying smiled. Last time we suffered a loss from them. This time we have to make up for it and teach them a lesson. This time they're the ones in the wrong. Let's see if they can still unite the sections. Chu Li shook his head. Co Tying was startled. Are we not going to do anything? Chu Li said, Master Co, this time we can't do anything to the Green Hill. We have to be fair and announce to the public that it's not the Green Hill's doing. Isn't that showing weakness? Co Tying pondered. Will the Green Hill think that we're afraid? Chu Li laughed. Who would think that the public house is afraid of the Green Hill? Xiao Baiha smiled. It's more like Green Hill is afraid of us. There's no reason for us to be afraid of them. Everyone understands this. So we're going to let them go? Co Tying was reluctant. The death of a single public house protector was enough to make his heart ache. Now that 6 of them had died, he hated the Green Hill and Feng Huang Hill to the core. Killing more than 100 of them was not enough to quench his hatred. He wished he could kill them all. Unfortunately, he was not strong enough, so he could not do as he pleased. Chu Li said, Master Xiao Tying, think about it. Everyone knows that we hold a grudge against the Green Hill. If there's a chance, we'll definitely teach them a lesson. Yet, we still speak according to the facts and act fairly. If that's the case, what would everyone think? What would they think? Co Tying asked. Chu Li said slowly, They will trust the High Duke's public house even more. Even the factions in the martial arts world will trust the High Duke's public house. This kind of trust is the hardest to come by. It doesn't matter if we're overbearing, but we have to be fair in our actions. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. We won't take revenge because of personal grudges. This is prestige, right? Xiao Baiha sighed. This kind of prestige can often create miraculous effects. Chu Li smiled and nodded. Co Tying shook his head and looked at him. Chu Li smiled. Does Master Xiao Tying find it inappropriate? No matter how good his plan was, no matter how skillful his methods were, without Master Xiao Tying's approval, he would not be able to execute it. Co Tying sighed. You really know how to squeeze oil out of stone. You can even make such a wonderful use out of such a matter. I just feel that I've let Imperial Inspector Hu down. Chu Li said, Imperial Inspector Hu's success is due to his family background, and his failure is also due to his family background. Co Tying and Co Baiha nodded. Everything is a double-edged sword. Not everything is good. Imperial Inspector Hu had a good family background. That's why he was able to become an Imperial Inspector, but it was also because of his family background that he lost his life. We're going back? Co Shi frowned slightly. The two of them stood in the gazebo of the Island of Symphony. The clear surface of the lake reflected the setting sun. It was like pieces of red brocade, gorgeous and colorful. Co Shi was originally in a good mood. When she heard what Chu Li said, she became a little gloomy. She frowned and said, I still wanted to go to the Spirit Crane's Peak to play with the Spirit Cranes. When you go back, you have to be careful of Kingen. He's full of evil tricks. Of course. Chu Li smiled. I've been guarding against him. Are we going to Spirit Crane's Peak now? You're not going back. We'll talk about it tomorrow. We can't go back too soon. Chu Li smiled. Outsiders knew that his light body technique was good. But to what extent, few knew. If he returned to the fairy's capital in an instant, and the secret Guardians Hall knew about it, they would definitely use him with all their might. So he had to hide his skills. It was considered a backup plan. He held CO Shure's slim waist. After a few flashes, they appeared at the Spirit Crane's Peak. The Spirit Crane's Peak was dyed red by the setting sun. The lush green forest was everywhere. The spiritual energy was overwhelming. It was unusually refreshing. As soon as he appeared, he heard the chirping of the baby crane. Although it was small, its voice was so loud that the entire Spirit Crane's Peak could hear it. 2 spirit cranes stood on top of the tree. They looked at the 2 baby cranes playing under the tree. They glanced at Chu Li and CO Shure's direction and ignored them. It was as if they did not see them. The baby crane that was saved by Chu Li flapped its wings. It ran as if it was flying. It rushed over in a flash. Chu Li reached out to hug it. He staggered and almost fell. He secretly clicked his tongue. He had such strength at such a young age. He was really blessed by nature. Following the improvement of the heavenly demonic power, the art of White Tiger, the sentient menace, and the life and death scripture, his strength was getting stronger. He was already so strong that he could defeat an innate master without inner energy. But he was still no match for the baby crane. The difference between humans and spirit cranes was really too big. The baby crane used its wings to pat Chu Li affectionately. It used its long beak to rub against him. Chu Li was annoyed by its enthusiasm. He patted its head. The other baby crane pounced over and rubbed its long beak against him. Chu Li was embarrassed by the 2 cranes. CO Shure was envious and amused. She could not stop laughing. The baby crane from before looked at CO Shure curiously. It used its long beak to rub against her arm. CO Shure's body tilted and was about to fall. Chu Li quickly held her. CO Shure felt a strong force coming from its long beak. She could not resist it. She could not help but exclaim, "What a strong force! They are blessed by nature. It's enviable." Chu Li shook his head and smiled. Chu Li activated the life and death scripture and channeled the surrounding spiritual energy into the 2 baby cranes' bodies. They immediately stood still. Their eyes that were filled with spiritual energy closed. It was as if they had turned into statues. What happened? CO Shure asked. Chu Li smiled. They are cultivating. They know how to cultivate? I guess it's an instinct. Chu Li shook his head. You can learn. My body is different. How can I learn? CO Shure smiled. Chu Li said, you can learn their breathing rhythm. All right. CO Shure thought it was fun. She listened to Chu Li's instructions. Phew, phew, Chu Li said slowly. CO Shure breathed along. Chu Li said, inhale, 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 inhale. CO Shure stopped and frowned at him. Chapter 484. CO Shure closed her eyes again and listened to Chu Li's gentle voice. She breathed along with his voice. After a few breaths, CO Shure's face turned red. It was redder than the sunset, as if she was drunk. Her red face was alluring and her eyes were blurry. Her body swayed. Chu Li quickly held her up. With the injection of inner energy, CO Shure slowly recovered. She pouted. Is your idea reliable or not? Chu Li said, this is a rare opportunity. Others want to see the spirit cranes, but can't. This is the spirit crane's cultivation period. We can't miss it. Let's try again. Will it really work? CO Shure's eyes flickered. Humans and cranes are different. The rules of heaven and earth are the same. Chu Li said, the breathing technique is the law of heaven and earth. Come on. All right. CO Shure was ready to risk it all. She was not afraid of death. With Chu Li by her side, even if she died, she could be saved. Thus, she continued to breathe according to Chu Li's instructions. After a while, her body swayed and fell again. Chu Li held her up again. Chuli used the omniscient mirror to look inside her body. She was indeed overwhelmed. The breathing technique was amazing. In just a short while, she felt like she was drunk. It was not because she was holding in. Instead, an invisible force entered her body, and she could not take it. The spiritual energy of the spirit crane's peak was exceptionally dense. The force that came from the breathing technique was also exceptionally strong. Looking at the two little cranes, they breathed according to a unique rhythm. They absorbed the spiritual energy from heaven and earth. They even absorbed the spiritual energy that Chuli injected and converted it into a unique force to nourish their bodies. The breathing technique was amazing. It was an instinct of the two little cranes. It was like eating and drinking. Seoshur woke up for a while and continued to breathe according to Chuli's instructions. After a while, she fell drunk again. This time, Chuli did not wake her up. He let her lie down on a pile of grass and sleep. The two little cranes were still breathing without moving, as if they had fallen asleep. The two spirit cranes, standing on top of the tree, glanced over but did not come over. Chuli sat cross-legged on the bush. He had already breathed together with the two little cranes. He felt his internal organs being squeezed and massaged by an invisible force to become stronger. The breathing technique was truly amazing. If he could completely change his breathing rhythm, he would be like a spirit crane. Over time, his internal organs would become stronger and stronger, beyond imagination. When Seoshur slowly woke up, she realized that she had a robe draped over her body and was sleeping in the bushes. Chuli sat beside her, unmoving. A bright moon hung high in the sky, as if it could be reached by stretching out one's hand. The bright moon shone on the spirit crane's peak and on Chuli. The two little cranes stood beside Chuli, motionless like statues. Their feathers were whiter and more flawless than during the day, emitting a warm luster as if they were carved out of white jade. Seoshur felt that the world was exceptionally quiet, as if there was only herself, Chuli, and the two little cranes left in the world. She lowered her head and looked at her own body. Somehow, she felt lighter, as if she could float and ascend to the sky. Was this strange feeling an illusion, or was it really too light? Chuli opened his eyes and smiled. "How do you feel?" Seoshur said. "It's different now." Chuli smiled. This is the beauty of the spirit crane's breathing. In the future, you'll have to gradually extend your cultivation time. It's best if you can completely change your breathing, and your body will get better. Is this inner energy? Seoshur asked. Chuli shook his head. This is different from inner energy. It's another kind of energy. It might be more like a torso tuning technique, but it's hard to say. You'll only know if you continue to cultivate. In short, it's a wonderful technique. What's the use of this? It can prolong your life, allowing you to live longer. I've already eaten the longevity grass. Could it be that you think you've lived too long? I'm just afraid that you'll all die. It's not fun to live alone. Chuli laughed. What are you laughing at? Seoshur rolled her eyes at him. You haven't eaten the longevity grass. How can you live as long as me? Chuli said, if I step into the enlightened mastery's boundary, you won't be able to do it. Can you really become an enlightened master? Seoshur shook her head. It's not something an ordinary person can cultivate. Chuli smiled. Do you think I can't cultivate it? That's hard to say. Seoshur hesitated and shook her head. Logically speaking, Chuli would not be an enlightened master. It would be either the Tempest Temple or the Emperor. However, Chuli was a genius. He became a grandmaster in a short period of time. His martial arts had been improving nonstop. She had never heard of such a person. He might really become an enlightened master. So it's better for you to cultivate the spirit crane's breathing technique. Chuli smiled. Don't wait for me to become an enlightened master. You won't be able to live longer than us. All right, I'll cultivate. Seoshur nodded. The two little cranes were still immersed in their cultivation. There was no sign of them stopping. Chuli's life and death scripture was in operation. He channeled spiritual energy from all directions into their bodies. At the same time, he channeled it into his own body. Through the breathing technique, the spiritual energy turned into a strange aura. His internal organs were constantly being strengthened. They were getting stronger. Seo sure cultivated the breathing technique for a while. Soon, she was drunk again. She was woken up by a loud cry. When she opened her eyes, the sky was already bright. She turned her head to look. Chuli was playing with the two cranes. The two cranes pecked him with their beaks. It was like two extremely fast swords stabbing at him. Chuli blocked them with his fists. The two cranes cried excitedly every now and then, waking her up. The two cranes did not have any moves. They were just fast. They were getting faster and faster. At first, they only pecked him with their beaks. Later, they realized that they could not do anything to Chuli. They used their body technique without a teacher. Their claws grabbed the ground. With a leap, their beaks became faster. Seo sure watched for a while. She shook her head and smiled. Smack! One of the crane's beak was slapped away by Chuli. It could not stop its beak. It pecked a stone on the ground. The stone was instantly split in half. Seo sure was shocked. It's too dangerous. Seo sure shouted. Chuli covered the two long beaks. He smiled. This is interesting. If you really take a hit, can you take it? Seo sure asked. Chuli smiled. My body cultivation is successful now. It's fine. Seo sure said. If these two little ones were to be placed outside, they would be able to take care of grandmasters. Chuli nodded. This was the scary thing about spirit beasts. The two cranes were already so powerful. The two adult spirit cranes were even more powerful. Chuli could not defeat them. He did not know if an enlightened master could. The two adult spirit cranes cried out and descended from the sky. They each held an animal the size of a rabbit in their beaks. They also had one in their claws. Chuli did not recognize it. This could be a spirit rabbit, Seo sure said. Chuli smiled. Spirit cranes eat this? They eat rabbits like the golden eagles? Seo sure said. They eat everything. Don't think that they are vegetarians. Chapter 485. Chuli closed fist, saluted, and thanked the two cranes for their kindness. He then bid farewell to the two little cranes. The two little cranes rubbed him with their long beaks reluctantly. Chuli patted their heads and carried the spirit rabbits in one hand and Seo sure in the other. Then he disappeared. The two of them appeared in the gazebo of the island of Symphony. The breeze was cool and moist. Do you want to eat these two spirit rabbits? Try to eat them. Then send them to the kitchen and let them cook. How about we roast them ourselves? All right. Seo sure ordered, and soon someone brought charcoal and a stove. A plump and fair kitchen maid brought the two rabbits to cook. She returned quickly and said embarrassedly, Lady, the kitchen knife can't cut the rabbit's skin. Oh. Seo sure turned to look at Chuli. Chuli smiled and said, Take my sword. He passed the modesty sword to her. Yes. The kitchen maid hesitated for a moment before taking the sword and left. Looks like it really is a spirit beast. Even a rabbit is so powerful. I wonder what good it will do if we eat it. It's just rabbit meat. What good can it do? Seo sure smiled. It's not a spirit herb. The kitchen maid was efficient. She quickly brought the two cooked rabbits over and passed the modesty sword to them. They started the fire, and the two of them personally watched the heat. Chuli had some experience in roasting, but it was far from the kitchen maid's. Soon, the two of them passed it to the kitchen maid and watched her roast it. Soon, the aroma filled the air. When the two of them ate it, they felt that it was tender and smooth. It was really delicious. The kitchen maid's cooking was also amazing. Chuli tasted it carefully. Soon, a warm current flowed out from his stomach and circulated around his body. His whole body was steaming hot. This warm current circulated around his organs and strengthened them. Ever since he used the heavenly demonic power, he had been feeling slightly hungry. No matter how much food he ate, he would not be full. After eating the spirit rabbit, he felt full. Seo sure said, There's nothing good about it. Chuli smiled. It's not a miracle pill. It won't have such a miraculous effect. Lady, you should practice your breathing technique more. I'll go back first. Go. Seo sure waved her hand. Go back to the fairy's capital first. Come back at night. All right, Chuli agreed. He appeared outside the divine capital in a flash. Last night, he had spent the night in the open at Spirit Crane's Peak. Then, he had arrived at the secret guardian's hall with a dusty aura. When the two guards saw him, they cupped their fists in greeting and did not stop him. Chuli went straight to the main hall, where Su Huanda was reading through dossiers. Seeing him enter, Su Huanda put down the dossier and glared at him coldly. You're living a free and unfettered life. As a secret guardian, you're not thinking about serving the imperial court. Instead, you're neglecting your duties for personal reasons. You're really... Chuli gave a fist salute. How have you been, Commander Su? Not good. Su Huanda scoffed. You've investigated the matter regarding Imperial Inspector Hu? Chuli sat opposite him. He died at the hands of the Holy Church of Light. Su Huanda frowned. Or the Holy Church of Light. How could there be such a coincidence? Don't tell me it's because there's no proof that they're the culprits? Chuli said. I took a piece of cloth from Imperial Inspector Hu's hands. Based on the cloth, I found a disciple of the Holy Church of Light. I've already killed that guy, so we can investigate whether he's a disciple of the Holy Church of Light or not. How dare they? Su Huanda's face darkened. They dared to kill an official of the Imperial Court. Chuli said, why do they want to kill Imperial Inspector Hu? This has become a mystery. Both of them are dead, but I didn't get anything out of them. The disciples of the Holy Church of Light won't be able to get a confession out of them. I'll send someone over to investigate. If it's true, you've done a great service. Su Huanda said in a low voice. The Holy Church of Light. Are you still planning to drag this on? I'll go back to the residence and settle down. I'll start investigating the Holy Church of Light. Su Huanda hesitated for a while and said slowly, I heard that King In's martial arts was crippled and he was severely injured. He's infertile now. Chuli frowned. How did this spread? Seems like it's true. Su Huanda shook his head and sighed. Then the imperial residence of King and will be in trouble. You have to be careful. What's the matter? Chuli scoffed. I don't have to say much. You're a smart person. You should be able to guess. Su Huanda frowned. He's infertile and King In doesn't have any descendants. This means that his branch is gone. King In won't have the chance to inherit the throne. Chuli said, that might not be the case. The imperial physician is highly skilled. He'll have a way. Since it's related to his descendants, the imperial physician won't be able to do anything. Without an heir, he won't be able to inherit the throne. Su Huanda shook his head and sighed. He can adopt an heir from a branch. After all, he's not his biological son. There'll be endless trouble. In short, King In is considered to have withdrawn from the fight for the throne. Su Huanda sighed. Chuli said, there are benefits to this too. He won't be feared by others and won't be suppressed. There are benefits, but he'll also be looked down upon. He'll inevitably be bullied. 2 days ago, Lady Lung Xiao was beaten up again. Su Huanda said. Chu Li's face darkened. Who? Su Huanda said. Who else? Lung Tao. Chuli gritted his teeth and scoffed. Su Huanda nodded slowly. Chuli said, I'll go to the imperial residence of King Cheng tomorrow. You won't beat up Lung Tao, right? So what if I beat him up? Chuli scoffed. You should seek justice for Lady Ling Xiao. A man bullying a lady who doesn't know martial arts. This kind of person must be beaten up. Don't forget about King Cheng, Su Huanda said. King In is no longer the king and of the past. King Cheng won't be afraid of him anymore. Chuli pondered. Beat up Lung Tao and investigate the imperial residence of King Cheng at the same time. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. That's a good idea. Su Huanda smiled. It won't attract attention. Chuli stood up and closed fist saluted. Then I'll take my leave. Go. Don't forget to go to the imperial residence of King Cheng tomorrow. Su Huanda smiled. But your 2 subordinates haven't returned yet. They'll be back tomorrow. Chuli said. Very good. Su Huanda nodded in satisfaction. Chuli returned to the imperial residence of King In. Just as he returned to his courtyard, Lung Xiao and Lung Qing rushed over. Behind them, a few maids ran in while panting. Lung Xiao pouted. After entering the courtyard, she sat in front of Chuli. Head chief, you have to stand up for me. Chu looked at her face. There were no injuries. Did Lung Tao hit someone again? Chu asked. Lung Qiu said hatefully, he slapped me once. He told you to hit me back if you had the guts. He grew the guts, Chu said. Isn't it because everyone saw that father's martial arts was crippled? They think he's easy to bully. Lung Qiu scoffed. What a bunch of vile people. Petty people. Chu looked at Lung Qing. Lung Qing wore a light purple gown. She was cold and indifferent. Lung Qing said, after father's martial arts was crippled, everyone's attitude changed. Some took pity, some mocked. Anyway, everything changed. Head Chief, do you have any ideas? Chu shook his head. His Royal Highness is the backbone of the Imperial residence. Now that His Royal Highness has suffered, the Imperial residence will definitely suffer. But it's okay. His Royal Highness will recover his martial arts very soon. It's not easy to recover, Lung Qing said faintly. I heard that father can no longer have children. It's impossible for us to have a younger brother. Chu remained silent. Lung Qing said, this is the key. Chapter 486. This concerns the fate of the Imperial residence. How can I not worry? Lung Qing said. Chu said, Lady Qing, don't worry. It will get better. When will it get better? Lung Qing scoffed. Father's becoming more and more eccentric. If this goes on, the Imperial residence will not get better. It will only get worse. Everyone will suffer. That's right. There will still be people like Lung Tao. Lung Qiu nodded. Chu said, Lady Qing, don't worry. I will avenge you and beat up Lung Tao again. Lung Qiu smiled and then asked worriedly, you dare to beat him again? Why not? Chu smiled. If I beat him once, I can beat him again. It's better not to cause trouble. If the Imperial residence collapses, everyone's fate will be miserable. Lung Qing said, it's not that bad. Compared to the commoners, you are royalty. No matter how bad you are still the daughters of the Imperial family. Chu smiled. A phoenix on a carriage is worse than a chicken. Lung Qing shook her head. Chu smiled helplessly. Lung Qing had always been pessimistic about the affairs of the world, and there were faint signs of her being world-weary. Lung Qiu asked, Head Chief, when are you going to beat up Lung Tao? Tomorrow, Chu said. Can I go with you? Lung Qiu asked excitedly. Chu pondered and nodded. It's good to go. He wanted to avenge Lung Qiu and boost the morale of the Imperial residence. Lung Qiu was overjoyed. Thank you, Head Chief. Lung Qing was worried. It's not wise to provoke Lung Tao now. Imperial Uncle Chung will not let this go. Don't worry, I have an idea. Don't fail to avenge him and get beaten up by him, Lung Qing said. There are many people who will kick a man when he is down. The Imperial family was the most ruthless. Brothers were all rivals. There was no love between them. Instead, they fought to the death. Once there was a chance to beat him, they would not let it go. They would not let her father get up again. They would think of ways to defeat him. Thinking about this, she could not help but feel sad. Outsiders saw the Imperial family as glorious, but who would know that it was so dangerous? Living in the Imperial family was not necessarily a comfortable life. Fear was the most common thing. Big sister, Lung Qiu said, I want to beat him up. The last time was enough to vent my anger. Chu smiled and said, Lady Qiu, if you want to vent your anger, you'll have to cultivate and hit him yourself. Me? Lung Qiu shook her head. My aptitude is not good enough. Lung Qiu sighed and looked at Lung Qing helplessly. I want to cultivate too. Chu remained silent. There were many spirit pills in the Imperial residence, but she was a girl after all, so they might not be willing to let her use them. If she was a boy, King would have begged the Emperor to give her some spirit pills to make up for her natural endowments. Even if he couldn't turn her into a genius, he could at least make up for it a little so that she wouldn't have to stop practicing martial arts. Head Chief, His Royal Highness has invited you. Zheng Li's voice came from outside. Chu replied, All right, I understand. I'll head over right away. His Highness is in the training courtyard. Yes. Lung Qiu and Lung Qing stood up and bade farewell. Before leaving, Lung Qing reminded. Don't tell them that we were here, or else Mother and the others will nag again. Chu Li smiled and nodded. Chu Li pushed open the door to the training courtyard. There were only King and Su Ning in the courtyard. Su Ning stood in the corner to avoid attention. King sat beside a stone table and looked at him calmly. He pointed at the stone bench beside the table. Chu Li sat opposite him. Your Royal Highness, you've just returned to the imperial residence. Did you hear the rumors outside? King In's expression was calm, as if all the grudges were written off. Chu Li nodded. Everyone doesn't think that your Royal Highness will be able to seize the throne. King In sneered and said lightly, a bunch of short-sighted people. What do you think? What did the imperial physician say? Chu Li asked. King In said, it can be cured. Chu Li looked at Su Ning. Su Ning was frowning and meditating. He was motionless. Chu Li smiled. Can this kind of injury be cured? The imperial physician's medical skills are the best in the world. With the spirit pills, it won't be a problem to cure my injury. It's not like what the rumors say. Chu Li stared at him. King In was shrewd, but he had a habit that was not easily noticed. When he lied, his left pinky would jump twice. If he did not have the omniscient mirror, he would not be able to see it. His kidneys could not be cured. It seemed that he would really lose his heirs. Chu Li was really ruthless this time. It was really wonderful, Chu Li said. It seems that someone is purposely spreading this rumor. Their intentions should be put to death. That's right, King In said coldly. Their intentions should be put to death. Chu Li said, what orders do you have from me, your Royal Highness? It's about the Amethyst Mountain. That Gung Huarong, kill him. Your Royal Highness, I'm afraid that I can't kill him. He's hiding in the Amethyst Mountain. I can't just barge in and kill him. You're smarter than others. Just think of a way to lure him out and kill him. All right, I'll try. After it's done, I'll give you a treasure. Treasure? Chu Li was surprised. King In said lightly, I made a set of flying knives. It's forged from meteorites. It's indestructible. Chu Li smiled. Thank you, your Royal Highness. It seemed that King In had the intention to win him over. He even used such a method. Go. King In waved his hand. I'll leave everything in the imperial residence to you. I need to focus on cultivation and try to recover my martial arts as soon as possible. Yes. Chu Li closed fists, saluted, and stood up. After Chu Li slowly left, the cultivation courtyard returned to silence. King In sneered. Su Ning said, Your Royal Highness, are you really going to give flying knives to the head chief? So what if I give it to him? King In said lightly. As long as I can kill Gung Huarong. Su Ning did not say anything else. He pressed his palms together and fell silent. The next morning, Chu Li was deep in thought in the courtyard after he had his breakfast. Chief Zhu's voice came from outside. Head Chief, 2 secret guardians from the Imperial House are requesting an audience. Let them wait in the main hall. Chu Li said. When he arrived at the main hall, Dong Qifei and Yang Zongwen were already waiting. They closed fists, saluted, and welcomed him. Chu Li waved his hand. We're going to the imperial residence of King Cheng today. Yes. Both of them were excited. They had long wanted to go to the imperial residence of King Cheng and capture the disciples of the Holy Church of Light. Chu Li said, You just came back. Do you want to take a break? We're not tired. Both of them shook their heads. Chu Li smiled. You have to be prepared. You might not be able to capture the disciples of the Holy Church of Light. If the imperial residence of King Cheng doesn't have it, other residences will have it. Dong Qifei grinned. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. After a while, Lung Qiu and Lung Qing appeared. They were dressed in dark green attire, with long swords on their waists. The 5 of them left the imperial residence of King and went straight to the imperial residence of King Cheng. Outside the imperial residence of King Cheng, Dong Qifei flashed his secret guardian waist tag. He wanted to see King Cheng. The gatekeeper's attitude was casual. He lazily agreed and went in to report. Both of them looked at Chu Li. If it was not for Xiao Shi killing the secret guardians of the imperial house, which caused the secret guardians of the imperial house to lose their prestige, the secret guardians of the imperial house would not have received such cold treatment. After a while, The main door opened. Lung Tao brought a group of people out. Chapter 487. Oh, if it isn't Head Chief Chu, Lung Tao said loudly in a strange tone. He stood on the steps and looked at Chu Li from head to toe. His small eyes were gleaming with excitement. I didn't expect Head Chief Chu to have the time to come to our imperial residence. Chu Li closed fist saluted and said calmly, Imperial Crown Prince, we came to the imperial residence under the orders of the Secret Guardians Hall. We hope that the Imperial Crown Prince can make an exception. What are you Secret Guardians doing here? Lung Tao tilted his head and looked at him. Oh, I remember now. Didn't Princess Xiao kill 2 secret guards of the Imperial Palace? How did Chief Steward Chu become a secret guard of the Imperial Palace in a blink of an eye? Isn't this change too fast? Chu Li's expression did not change. This is the Emperor's will. We can't reject it. Lung Xiu looked at Chu Li in dissatisfaction. Wasn't the Chief Steward very tough in the past? Why did he soften all of a sudden? In the face of Lung Tao's sarcasm, he did not directly retort, but instead spoke to him in a nice tone. There was no need to waste words on this kind of fellow. Just fight him directly. Oh, so you're saying that it was also the Emperor's intention for you to come to the Prince's mansion? Lung Tao said with a smile. Chu Li said, the Secret Guardians Hall has received a secret report that spies have infiltrated the Imperial residence. For the safety of the princes and crown princes, the Secret Guardians Hall has specially conducted an investigation, and I'm in charge of it. Investigate? Lung Tao curled his lips in disdain. As if you can really find the traitor. Chu Li replied, Of course. Lung Tao snorted, I don't trust you. What should I do? He spread his hands and said helplessly, I'm worried that you have selfish motives. You'll purposely say that the loyal officials in our residence are traitors in order to help Lung Xiu vent her anger, so you'd better save it. Chu Li faintly asked, Is this King Cheng's intention? It's my idea, so what? Lung Tao scoffed. Can't I make the decision? Chu Li said, If it's King Cheng's intention, the Secret Guardians Hall won't force it. We'll just leave. If it's not King Cheng's intention, then please step aside, Imperial Crown Prince. I'll make the decision today. Lung Tao waved his hand in annoyance and shouted, Get lost. Not everyone can enter the imperial residence of Prince Cheng. Chu Li said calmly, Does that mean that the Crown Prince is against the Secret Guardians Hall's actions? That's right. Lung Tao snorted proudly. I'm against it, so what? Surnamed Chu, don't think that things are still the same as before. King and imperial residence is no longer the same. You'd better tuck your tail between your legs and behave yourself. No one will agree to your arrogance. Chu Li suddenly revealed a smile. It seems that the Crown Prince wanted to take advantage of our imperial residence's weakness to bully us. So he hit young Lady Qiu, right? That's right. What are you going to do about it? Lung Tao raised his head and squinted at him. I'm the one who hit her. You want to stand up for her? Business is business. Private is private. Chu Li shook his head and said, I have a clear distinction between public and private affairs. We are only following the orders of the Secret Guardians Hall to enter the imperial residence to investigate the traitor, but the Crown Prince is adamant in stopping us. I can't help but worry that there might be something unspeakable in the imperial residence that the Secret Guardians Hall might find out about. Don't slander me, Lung Tao shouted. I don't like you. That's why I didn't let you in, Chu Li said. The matters of the Secret Guardians Hall are not up to the Imperial Crown Prince to tell us what to do. Go in. Chu Li waved his hand. Dong Qifei and Yang Zhongwen were already angry and immediately walked up the stairs. Who dares to enter? Lung Tao shouted. Stop them. Chu Li said in a low voice. The Crown Prince is obstructing the Secret Guardians Hall's mission. We can only offend him. Arrest him. Yes. Dong Qifei and Yang Zhongwen rushed towards Lung Tao. Lung Tao shouted, Go! Whoever knocks them down will be heavily rewarded. Lung Tao was followed by 10 protectors. They were overjoyed. Although Lung Tao was a playboy, he was a man of his word and was generous. When they heard the reward, They immediately glared and rushed towards Dong Qifei and Yang Zhongwen. Unfortunately, they were all innate masters. The Grand Masters were appointed by Chun Kong to protect the imperial residents. They were usually not instructed by Lung Tao. The group of protectors behind Lung Tao was raised by him. There were no Grand Masters. Bam, 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 bam. 10 muffled sounds were heard. The 10 protectors flew out and landed at Lung Tao's feet. Chu Li shook his head and said, "The Crown Prince wants to stop the Secret Guardians Hall's mission with these people." Senior Chun. He closed fists saluted in the direction of the imperial residence. His expression was calm. There was no movement from inside the door. Chu Li sighed and said, "Senior Chun, why do you have to force me?" As he finished speaking, he lightly swung his hand. Slap! A crisp slap was heard. Lung Tao's eyes widened. He could not help but cover his face. The pain was unbearable. He shouted in disbelief, "You dare to hit me?" Chu Li smiled and said, "I dare not. I dare not. This is to teach the Crown Prince a lesson on behalf of the Secret Guardians Hall." As he finished speaking, he swung his arm again. Slap! Another crisp slap was heard. The other side of Lung Tao's face was slapped again. Lung Tao was furious. His small eyes were red. He stared at Chu Li and said, "You dare to hit me. You dare to hit me." Chu Li looked towards the door and raised his voice. "Senior Chun, are you still not coming out? Then I will continue to hit you." He stretched out his hand and swung his palm again. Slap! Lung Tao's hands were separated by an invisible force. His pale and fat face was exposed. He was slapped again. "Stop!" Chun Kong shouted in a low voice. He fluttered and appeared in front of Chu Li. 3 grandmasters followed closely behind him. Chun Kong's face was gloomy. He stared at Chu Li coldly. "Head Chief Chu, don't you think you are being too reckless?" Chu Li smiled and said, "I am acting under the orders of the Secret Guardians Hall. However, the Crown Prince interfered and caused trouble for no reason. For the dignity of the Secret Guardians Hall, I had to take action. I hope that Senior Chen will forgive me. Even if I go to the Emperor, I will be standing on the side of reason. Am I right? He is the Crown Prince after all. The imperial family has to be respected." Chun Kong scoffed. Chu Li laughed. "The Crown Prince does not care about the imperial family's reputation. A man bullying a weak woman. Do I have to respect him? Where would the dignity of the imperial princess be? Senior Chun, are we allowed to enter the imperial residence?" "Well," Chun Kong looked at Lung Tao and shook his head. He felt that it was shameless. He did not want to argue about this matter anymore. He shook his head and said, "His Royal Highness still wants you to go back. His Royal Highness does not want us to go in." Chu Li smiled and said, "His Royal Highness does not want to investigate the traitor?" Chun Kong was dressed in a blue robe. He had an outstanding aura. "His Royal Highness does not want to cause panic." Chu Li said, "Then can His Royal Highness be sure that there is no traitor in the imperial residence? If something really happens, the Secret Guardians Hall will not be responsible." "What traitor?" Chun Kong smiled and said, "The imperial residence is as strong as a piece of iron." Chu Li closed fists saluted. "Since His Royal Highness has said so, we will not force you. We will leave now. If anything happens in the future, don't look for the Secret Guardians Hall. Goodbye." "Wait!" Lung Tao shouted. "You hit me and you want to leave just like that?" Chu Li smiled and said, "I am sorry, Crown Prince. Did I hit you too hard? You with the surname Chu, just you wait." Lung Tao pointed at him angrily. "I will take good care of Lung Xiao unless she does not come out." Chu Li sighed and looked at Chun Kong. "Is this also His Royal Highness' intention? His Royal Highness will not care much about the children's nonsense." Chun Kong smiled and said, "Head Chief Chu, why do you have to care about these small matters?" Chu Li said, "Then I will teach Lady Qiu a sword technique. When the time comes to kill the Crown Prince, don't blame me for not warning you." Chapter 488. Chu Li closed fists saluted. "All right then, let's wait and see. Head Chief Chu, have a safe journey. Forgive me for not seeing you off." Chun Kong closed fists saluted. "Wait!" Lung Tao shouted. Elder Chun, why did you let him go? Did I get beaten up for nothing? He pointed at his swollen face and shouted, could it be that I, the Crown Prince, am being beaten like this? What do you want, Imperial Crown Prince? Chu Li turned to look at him. I want to beat you up. Lung Tao gritted his teeth. Chu Li smiled. Do you have the ability? Why don't you ask King Chung to come out and let him order me not to resist and let you slap me? You dare to disobey my father? Lung Tao scoffed. Call me if you want. Chu Li's smile widened. Why does King Chung order me not to resist? Is it because he is a prince? Or is it because his rank is high enough? Lung Tao pointed at him and stared at Chen Kong. Elder Chun, how can you just let him be so arrogant and hit the Imperial Crown Prince? That's enough, Imperial Crown Prince. Chen Kong waved his hand. I'm not hurt. He actually secretly admired Chu Li for hitting the Imperial Crown Prince without any fear of offending the entire Imperial family. Chen Kong did not dare to do so. Chu Li's behavior could only be done in the Ji dynasty. The Imperial Crown Princes and Imperial Princes of the Ji dynasty did not have such a high status. This was the Emperor's intentional suppression and the Chancellor's united efforts. In this martial world, the Chancellors would not listen to the Emperor's every whim. How could they compete with the Emperor based on a rank system? This was created by the founder, and the Emperor could not change the system. However, the Imperial Crown Prince and Imperial Crown Prince had a special status. After all, they were the Emperor's blood. How could the Emperor be happy if he hit his son or grandson? It could only be said that Chu Li was too bold, and Chen Kong could not compare to him. Lung Tao shouted, I am not hurt, but I am humiliated. So what if you are humiliated? Chen Kong said, Imperial Crown Prince, you should work harder and return the humiliation. How can I beat him? Lung Tao shouted in dissatisfaction. Chen Kong smiled. Imperial Crown Prince, you can't beat him and your skills are inferior. Can you not be humiliated? But I'm a Crown Prince. Lung Tao scoffed. Chen Kong said, if the Crown Prince continues to have such thoughts, he will never be able to achieve anything. He will only be a good-for-nothing. Old Chen, Lung Tao glared at him angrily. Chen Kong sighed. Crown Prince, you have to be brave after being ashamed. Working hard is the right path. Don't bully weak women all day long. Oof. Lung Tao turned around and left in dissatisfaction. Not listening to him? Rumble. Lung Xiu stared at Chu Li excitedly, her footsteps light and excited. Lung Qing said, Head Chief, are you really going to teach Lil Sis swordsmanship? Chu Li nodded. Lung Xiu said excitedly, but I don't know martial arts at all. Watching Lung Tao get beaten up was really satisfying. Lung Tao's martial arts is also ordinary. Chu Li smiled. You can defeat him if you master one move. Really? Lung Xiu was doubtful. Lung Qing said, that's impossible, right? No matter what, Lung Tao has practiced martial arts for several years. Sloppy and ordinary. It's almost the same as someone who has never practiced martial arts before. Chu Li said, all right, let's give it a try. Lung Xiu said eagerly, if I really defeat him, that would be really satisfying. I'll beat him up every time I see him. It's satisfying. Yang Zongwen coughed softly and said in a low voice, Captain, are we just going to let it go? Chu Li turned his head and looked at him. What else? Barge in? This. Yang Zongwen hesitated. Dong Qifei said, that's too suffocating. We can't even enter the door. Chu Li said, you didn't think of this before coming? Is it that easy to enter the imperial residence of King Cheng's door? King Cheng is too arrogant. He directly rejected us outside the door. Dong Qifei was indignant. Yang Zongwen sighed. The status of our secret guardian's hall is getting lower and lower. Chu Li smiled. Are you blaming me? We dare not. The two quickly closed fists saluted. Chu Li said, the status of the secret guardian's hall is too high. That's the path to death. It's good now. We've suffered grievances. Everyone can see it. The courtiers won't be clamoring to disband the secret guardian's hall anymore. But it's harder for us to do things. We're being held back everywhere. Yang Zongwen sighed. Dong Qifei said, what do we do now? Chu Li said, we'll go back and report to the commander. We'll leave it to the commander. No matter how capable we are, we can't enter the imperial residence, and we can't find a traitor. The commander will definitely blame us. Dong Chi-fei pouted. Are we supposed to barge into the imperial residence? Chu Li laughed. King Cheng can't wait for us to barge in so he can imitate the princess. The two were startled. They suddenly felt a chill. It can't be. Chu Li smiled. You're just adding fuel to the fire. King Cheng wants to kill me. The two quickly shut their mouths. Once he said that, they understood. Chu Li was too flamboyant in the fairy's capital. He made enemies everywhere. Moreover, he treated the princes and imperial princes like they were nothing. He fought whenever he wanted. This day would come sooner or later. Now that the imperial residence of King and was in decline, it was the best time to kill Chu Li. How could King Cheng let go of this opportunity? No wonder Chu Li showed weakness and retreated as soon as he said he would. He had seen through this. The two looked at Chu Li and sighed. Everyone else was as smart as ghosts. They were the only ones who were stupid and only knew how to rush forward. They did not know if the commander and Commander Su assigned this task to Chu Li because they wanted to get someone else to do their dirty work. After all, Chu Li caused the secret guardians' hall to be in such a sorry state. 2 imperial house secret guardians died. Thinking about this, they decided to pretend to be deaf and dumb. They would do whatever Chu Li said. Chu Li first sent the 2 back to the imperial residence of King and he then went straight to the secret guardians' hall. King Cheng doesn't allow entry? Su Huanda threw the file on the table. He stood up and paced with his hands behind his back. This is troublesome. King Cheng was deeply favored by the emperor. If he forced his way into the imperial residence and complained to the emperor, the secret guardians' hall would not be able to handle it. Chu Li fist saluted. I've let Commander Su down. You're resourceful. Why didn't you think of anything? Su Huanda scoffed. Chu Li shook his head. King Cheng was looking for an excuse to kill me. Sigh. Su Huanda rubbed his brows. He had also guessed that this would happen. After all, Chu Li and King Cheng were like fire and water. Before this, King Cheng was still wary of King Yin, but now he was fearless and wanted to kill Chu Li. Su Huanda said, looks like we'll have to ask the emperor if we want to enter the imperial residence of King Cheng. That's right. Chu Li hurriedly said, then I'll go back first and wait for news from the commander. Go. Su Huanda waved his hand coldly. Chu Li bade farewell and left. When he returned to the courtyard, Lung Xiao and Lung Qing were already sitting there. Lung Xiao changed into a green outfit. Her face was as white as snow. She said excitedly, Head Chief, when are you going to teach me sword techniques? You want to learn now? Chu Li smiled. I want to learn early so that I can deal with Lung Tao. Lung Xiao said. Chu Li glanced at her and nodded. The way to hold a sword, it's a beginner's sword technique. Do you know a little about it? I don't. Lung Xiao shook his head. Then I'll start from the beginning, Chu Li said. I'll only learn one skill. Can I learn? Lung Qing asked. Chu Li smiled. It's good for 2 people to train together, but it'll be tough. Chapter 489. Chu Li smiled. Give me the sword. We'll start from holding it. Lung Xiao pulled out the long sword and passed it to him. Chu Li gestured for a while and explained the way to hold the sword to them. The 2 girls were smart and quickly grasped it. Chu Li was pleased. Being so smart could save him a lot of effort. First, he taught them a set of basic sword techniques, and they practiced the basic sword moves. The 2 girls quickly grasped it and practiced it well. They felt that practicing martial arts was not that difficult. They felt a sense of accomplishment and motivation. They wanted Chu Li to teach them all the martial arts, so they could learn it in one go. Chu Li smiled. You have to practice this basic sword technique diligently. Practice it 20 times a day. Can this basic sword technique kill? Lung Xiao asked. Chu Li nodded. Although the basic sword technique is shallow, it is the foundation of sword techniques. All sword techniques are based on this technique. When used properly, every move and form can kill. Can I defeat Lung Tao with this technique? No. Chu Li shook his head. No matter what, he has been practicing martial arts for a few years. I think I can catch up to him in a few days. Then how long do I have to practice? Lung Xiao was a little discouraged. Chuli smiled. How long do you want to practice before you defeat him? How about a month? I'll teach him a lesson during the next hunting ceremony. Lung Xiao quickly said. There's a month's training method and a year's training method, Chuli said. If you want to defeat him in a month, you'll have to put in a lot of effort. It'll be tough and even painful. I'm not afraid of hard work, Lung Xiao quickly said. Lung Qing scoffed. As long as I can defeat Lung Tao, a little hardship is nothing. If that's the case, then let's start practicing today. Since we're almost done with the basic sword technique, let's start practicing that move. Chuli smiled. He taught the first form of the 7 forms of godly sword to the 2 girls. The 7 forms of godly sword was a set of sword technique that combined his martial arts. Every form was exquisite. This move would naturally derive inner energy, maximizing its speed and exquisiteness. It calculated the opponent's reaction as if it was a trap, waiting for them to walk into it. The 2 of them found it strenuous to learn this move. It was not like the basic sword arts, where they could learn it immediately. They always felt that it was incomparably jerky, and no matter how they practiced, they felt awkward. It was as if their hands and feet were not their own. Chuli smiled as he watched them compete with themselves. This sword was meant to change the basic habits of the human body. It seemed simple, but was actually extremely difficult. It required a firm will and the guidance of a wise teacher. If such a sword technique was turned into a sword manual and given to others, almost no one would be able to master it. That was because they would doubt it. No matter how they practiced, they would feel that something was wrong. They would constantly doubt it, and in the end, they would not be able to make any progress. The more he didn't believe in it, the more he wouldn't be able to practice it well. Going against his own instincts was going against the heavens. After practicing for a while, they were panting and sweating profusely. Head Chief, is this sword technique really powerful? Lung Xiao wiped away the dense layer of sweat on her fair and plump forehead as she panted. It's really too difficult to train. They had never practiced other sword arts before, so they didn't find it strange. Instead, it didn't hinder them at all. In order to practice the 7 forms of godly sword, one had to break down and then rebuild. Without destruction, there would be no construction. One had to break through the barriers of the original sword technique. The 2 girls didn't have anything to break, so it saved them a lot of effort. I'll perform it one more time. Chuli smiled. He pulled out the modesty sword. His body swayed a little, and the sword gleamed. He then put the sword back into its scabbard. You should be able to train it to this level. It should be enough to deal with Lung Tao. So fast. Lung Qing frowned. Chuli's body movement technique looked calm, but she felt that it was extremely fast and unavoidable. Chuli smiled. You can also train it to this level, as long as you work hard enough. We've never practiced martial arts before, and we don't have inner energy. How can we be so fast? Lung Qing said. Chuli shook his head and smiled. When you train it well, you'll naturally have inner energy. Really? Lung Xiao was surprised. Chuli smiled. Train well then. The 2 girls rested for a while and continued to cultivate. Chuli was free today, so he had the leisure to teach them. When night fell, the 2 girls could barely stand. They had to hold onto the stone table to stabilize their bodies. They could only use their left arms to hold onto the table, as they could fall at any time. He realized that the 2 girls' qualities were not bad. When he said that their qualities were average, he was probably doing it on purpose to stop them from cultivating. When the 2 girls could not take it anymore and were about to stop, they realized the existence of inner energy. When they performed the last round of swordsmanship, they suddenly realized that there was a weak flow of heat emerging out of thin air in their bodies. It flowed along with the circulation of the sword force, recovering the fatigue of their bodies. This made them overjoyed and exceptionally excited. Hence, they practiced over and over again as if they were addicted to it, until their bodies reached their limits and they could not stand anymore. Under the stimulation of excitement, they practiced for a whole day in one go, and the heat became thicker and thicker. They also realized that their swordsmanship was getting faster, and they were instantly filled with confidence. They knew that Chu Li did not lie to them. Chu Li nodded in satisfaction. The 7 forms of godly sword that he modified was indeed marvelous. It had completely integrated the essence of the 7 forms of godly blade. The reason why the 7 forms of godly blade could shine so brightly back then was because of the exquisiteness of the blade. It could generate its own inner energy, and when it was performed, it would grow and multiply endlessly. Even an acquired master could have a long meridian like an innate master. When they gradually became familiar with this form, it became instinctive. Usually, they only needed to make this posture, and their inner energy would circulate on its own, just like cultivating inner energy. Chu Li was glad that although they did not cultivate martial arts, they had built their foundation. Otherwise, they would have to perform the 9 transformation meridian reforming technique, saving him the trouble. In the middle of the morning, after giving pointers to Lung Qiu and Lung Qiu, he let them cultivate on their own. He then walked out of the imperial residence of King and went to the secret guardian's hall. Su Huanda was reading a dossier in the main hall. Seeing him enter, Su Huanda put down the dossier and rubbed between his eyebrows. "Sit. What did the emperor say?" Chu Li closed fists, saluted, and sat opposite him. Su Huanda sighed. "King Cheng agreed to let the secret guardians in. So he won't let me in?" Chu Li asked. Su Huanda scoffed. "Because you hit Lung Tao, King Cheng is very displeased and wants to teach you a lesson." Chu Li smiled. "What do you think, Commander Su? Think of a way to disguise you and see if you can sneak in. If you don't go in, they won't be able to do anything," Su Huanda said. "I'm afraid King Cheng is guarding against this," Chu Li said. Su Huanda scoffed. "Then what do you have in mind?" Chu Li said, "If I can't do it openly, I can only do it secretly. I'll sneak into the imperial residence of King Cheng." Su Huanda's eyes widened. "How dare you have such an idea?" Chu Li said, "What other good ideas do you have, Commander Su? You can sneak in? I'll need the help of the secret guardian's hall. Find a group of martial arts masters to disguise as assassins and distract them. I'll sneak in." Chu Li said, "If we're discovered, the secret guardian's hall will be in big trouble." Su Huanda frowned. "We're just distracting them. We won't actually make a move," Chu Li said. "Especially Chen Kong. I think it's better for you to do it yourself, Commander Su." Su Huanda shook his head and sighed. "Only you can come up with this idea." If the imperial residence of King Cheng captured 1 or 2 secret guardians, the secret guardians hall would definitely be attacked by the chancellors. It would be a huge blow to their vitality, and the risk would be great. Chu Li smiled. "Are you going to do it or not?" "All right." Su Huanda thought of the pressure from the Holy Church of Light and finally sighed. "We'll act tonight." Chapter 490. P.S. I slept late last night and have a splitting headache. I'm writing too slowly. I'm afraid I won't be able to update in time. The moon was high up in the sky. The imperial residence of King Cheng fell into a deep slumber. The 4 black-clothed men silently sneaked into the prince's mansion. Like 4 shadows, they lightly and swiftly swept over the top of the wall without anyone noticing. Su Huanda landed on the ground and sighed helplessly. He did not expect that he, the deputy commander of the secret guardians hall, would one day have to disguise himself as an assassin. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. However, when he thought about the Holy Church of Light, he immediately put away his helplessness. It all depended on Chu Li to see if he could find the disciples of the Holy Church of Light. Finding out why the Holy Church of Light came to the fairies' capital, whether it was to assassinate or for something else, was the top priority of the secret guardians hall. The emperor had repeatedly asked about this, putting a lot of pressure on the secret guardians hall. If they could not figure this out, the secret guardians hall would not be able to live up to the emperor's expectations. Among the secret guardians of the imperial house, only Chu Li had the ability to find the disciples of the Holy Church of Light. If not, he would not have to listen to him and mess around with him. Chu Li must have done this out of both selfishness and fairness. Chu Li was rejected by King Cheng. He would not take this lying down. He would definitely cause trouble for the imperial residence of King Chung. Who's there? A low shout came from the flowers. Someone finally noticed the four of them. Su Huanda said, "Retreat. There's an assassin." A protector shouted from another place, breaking the silence of the imperial residence of King Chung. Several figures rushed towards the four of them. Su Huanda was accompanied by the top masters of the secret guardians hall. The four of them worked together, not to hurt anyone, but to escape. They quickly rushed out of the residence. In a short while, they were about to escape from the imperial residence. Oomph! A low shout was heard. Qin Kong stood on the roof and blocked their way. He looked at the four of them coldly. "Surrender, and I'll spare your lives. The imperial residence of King Chung is not a place where you can come and go as you please." Su Huanda said, "Move, or don't blame us for being rude." They rushed towards Qin Kong after that. 3 silhouettes landed next to Qin Kong and charged towards Su Huanda and the other 3. In the blink of an eye, the 8 of them were engaged in battle. Su Huanda and Qin Kong exchanged blows, and they were evenly matched. Bang, 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 bang. Amidst a series of muffled sounds, the 2 of them exchanged more than 20 moves. The other 6 were equally matched. They were all top-notch experts. The elites of the King Manor were all here to capture them. If they couldn't capture them this time, they might come again next time, and that would be extremely troublesome. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of palm strikes shook the entire prince's residence. Everyone in Prince Cheng's mansion tactfully shrank in their rooms, suppressing their curiosity and not going out. After about the time it took to brew a cup of tea, another black-clothed man appeared and said in a deep voice, "Let's go." "Head Chief Chu," Qin Kong roared. Chu Li was dressed in black and had his face covered. He chuckled. "I'm mistaken you for someone else. What are you doing here?" Qin Kong roared. Chu Li smiled. "We're here to see what's hidden in the imperial residence. What's so shameful that we're not allowed to enter the imperial residence?" "How dare you?" Qin Kong roared. "Aren't you afraid that His Royal Highness will report you? We've already given His Royal Highness face. If His Royal Highness doesn't know what's good for him, don't blame the Secret Guardians Hall for not showing mercy." Chu Li scoffed. "Let's go." He glided away after he finished speaking. Su Huanda and the other 3 glided away too. Qin Kong waved his hand, signaling the protectors beside him not to stop them. "Elder Chun, are you letting them go just like that?" One of the protectors whispered and scoffed in dissatisfaction. "Especially that Chu Li. He's so arrogant. He doesn't respect the imperial residence at all. Go and check if there's anything missing," Qin Kong scoffed. "Also, see if anyone is injured?" "Yes." The protector knew that Qin Kong did not want to chase after them anymore, so he could only agree. Qin Kong looked at the direction where Chu Li and the others disappeared into the night sky. He frowned. He was also a little skeptical. Why was Chu Li so persistent in investigating the imperial residence of Prince Chung? Was there really a spy in the imperial residence? Chu Li and the others returned to the secret guardians hall. The secret guardians hall was brightly lit. When they arrived at the main hall, the other 3 had already left. Chu Li and Su Huanda entered the main hall. "How is it?" Su Huanda did not even have time to take off the black cloth covering his face. He immediately asked, "Is there anyone from the Holy Church of Light?" Chu Li said in a tone of voice, "There really is." "How many?" "1. Catch them immediately tomorrow." Chu Li said, "Invite Qin Kong here and tell him clearly. I'm sure he will understand what to do." Will he believe it? After all, it's a disciple of the Holy Church of Light. It's better to believe it. If he doesn't believe it, he can try it himself. He should be able to test it out. I'm still worried. Su Huanda shook his head. "It's better for us to catch them ourselves." Chu Li said, "I'm afraid it'll be very troublesome. The imperial residence of Prince Chung will purposely find fault with us. They might even cause the person to escape. It won't go that far, right?" Su Huanda frowned. Chu Li said, "What do you think Prince Chung will do? If he really let you in and catch the disciple of the Holy Church of Light, what will become of Prince Cheng's previous actions? Arrogant and ignorant? Stupid? Is his reputation more important, or the disciple of the Holy Church of Light more important? Su Huanda scoffed. Chu Li smiled. Su Huanda was also smart and capable. His face darkened as he thought about Chu Li's words. Prince Cheng could really do it. Chu Li said, if they catch them themselves, the situation will be different. The imperial residents of Prince Cheng didn't do anything wrong. They can save their reputation. I didn't expect you to think for them. Su Huanda looked at him and shook his head. Public affairs are public affairs, and private affairs are private affairs. Chu Li smiled. I can still distinguish between public and private affairs. All right, I'll talk to Commander Chen. Su Huanda was non-committal. He did not believe that Chu Li could distinguish between public and private affairs. If they could enter the imperial residence of Prince Cheng and catch the disciple of the Holy Church of Light, the secret Guardians Hall would regain their reputation. Their words would carry more weight with the Emperor, and there would be fewer restrictions in the future. If the imperial residents of Prince Cheng were to catch the disciple of the Holy Church of Light themselves, the secret Guardians Hall's merits would be halved. His position determined that he was leaning towards the first option, which was to go straight to the door and catch the disciple. He subconsciously ignored the risk. Chu Li could clearly see through his thoughts. He chuckled. Bring me a brush and ink. Soon, someone brought over a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. Chu Li picked up the brush and drew a portrait. It was done in one go, and it was lifelike. He picked it up and blew on it. He passed it to Su Huanda. This should be the protector of the imperial residence of Prince Cheng. Su Huanda looked down and nodded. All right, I'll talk to Chen Kong tomorrow and ask him to catch the disciple. Chu Li smiled. I want to rest for a few days. All right. Su Huanda lowered his voice. If he really is a disciple of the Holy Church of Light, then you can rest for a while. Chu Li said. I'll know once I catch him. The next morning, Chu Li was cultivating the heavenly demonic power in the courtyard when Chief Zhu's voice came from outside. Head Chief, there are 2 secret guardians from the Imperial House outside, asking to see you. Let them in, Chu Li said. Dong Qifei and Yang Zhongwen came to the courtyard. They closed fists saluted, and their faces were gloomy. Chu Li glanced at the 2 of them and did not stop his movements. Dong Qifei could not hold back his words. He lowered his voice. Captain, he escaped. Chu Li stopped his movements. Escaped. Dong Qifei gritted his teeth. The imperial residents of Prince Cheng purposely let him escape. Chu Li looked at Yang Zhongwen. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.